All green. Go ahead.
watch out for all reforms soon. Speaking of reform, take away funding, watch us reform. We're more than homecoming and step shows, so when we step, be warm. We're at them tables, and guess what? Yes, we keep those seats warm. We're trying to keep the peace on. Think we'll stop, then dream on. Now let's talk about these memories. Our names say we made history. Lift every voice after every victory. You can be black, black at your liberty. Stand tall like a hickory tree. What you know about one from the class of the cat?
Welcome back to the College Excellence Summit, Day 2, August the 14th. I am Felix A. Poteets, the co-founder of Educational Excellence Incorporated. I'm super excited. It's hard to contain myself. So I'll turn it back over to Dr. Murray.
All right, greetings and thank you all. We're excited to have you back for Day 2 of the summit. If you missed yesterday, you missed an awesome opportunity and a lot of great, powerful insight by our guest speakers and panelists. So sit back, relax, and let's certainly make the most of today. Again, I'm Dr. Christie Murray, the CEO of Educational Excellence Incorporated. And we're excited about today. If you have not already, please mute your lines. We had some interesting conversations we were picking up yesterday. And I don't think some people knew that they could be heard. So please double check your lines. I think somebody accidentally muted me. Also, this event is being recorded. So please make sure that you handle it accordingly. And we really want to make this interactive. So we want you to feel comfortable asking questions. Please use the chat function if you have comments or questions you'd like to share. And at key points throughout the summit, you will have an opportunity to even come off of mute, turn your video on. And we love to see faces. So if you want to turn your videos on now, we're happy to have you do so. But certainly we invite you to ask your questions. That's what this summit is all about. So let me tell you a little bit about Educational Excellence, Inc. We formed this company back in 2021 to help students and parents. Our main mission is to provide impactful college and career planning, education, information, and resources to students and parents that I wish someone had told me. So that's really the essence of what we're doing in the space that we're operating in. So for Day 1 of the summit, I want to do a little brief recap of yesterday for those who missed it. And I see some new participants joining us, and I see some familiar faces and names from yesterday. But either way, it was so impactful, and I like to hear from others, not just myself. So if you attended yesterday, let everybody know in the chat what you thought about yesterday's session as I do a little brief recap. Felix and I started off kind of introducing the summit, why we do the summit every year, and then I shared a wealth of knowledge on college and career planning. How do you get through the college admissions process? And then we had a great speaker, Micheline Bowman, who shared, talked about branding. How you show up is how you glow up. And she talked about everything to how you dress, making eye contact, shaking hands, being able to communicate and articulate well, and more. So we hope you learned a lot from that. And if that wasn't enough by itself, we took a quick break and then we came back and heard from a NFL Super Bowl winner, champion, Jamin Elliott, and he shared some fantastic tips with all the students, but certainly our scholar athletes, about how they should go about their efforts in high school to prepare to play collegiate sports. So it was a phenomenal talk there. And then Dr. Kenneth Morton joined us, and he shared a wealth of information along with a panel of 8 other professionals. They shared their insights with students and parents and all of us. There were even golden nuggets that I took away in terms of how you show up in the workplace, how they chose their careers, what schools they went to, even their Greek affiliations, like being an AKA or an Alpha in the Alpha fraternity, those sort of things. So we had a really great, a lot of great wisdom and advice shared by our career professional panel. And then lastly, some of you took the survey. Thank you very much to all those who took the survey yesterday. We got some really great feedback, and we will use all of the feedback to help inform our future activities throughout the year and our future summit next year. And we gave instructions. We had a number of students who took it to task, and we provided scholarship instructions. So how it worked was, if you are a student, we have an application on my website, and you had to attend both days of the summit, yesterday and today. And we had a number of sponsors who have given funding for scholarships. So the students had instructions. They had to complete an online application, a scholar profile, submit a picture, verify their high school or college information, and write a brief essay. And some of you did not take the challenge, and some of you did. And so because of that, we'll be hearing more about it today. So that is a brief recap of what we did yesterday. So as we get today kicked off, I'm going to start off with a brief video, and it's called Push Yourself by Study Motivation. Stand by.
There's no other way around it. If success is the result that you are ultimately seeking, you must be obsessed with the process. You have no time to let fear, doubt, failure, quit, negative thoughts, or give up enter into your mental. See, you have massive potential. So from the moment you open your eyes in the morning, your mindset has to be win. Meaning winning that particular morning and carrying that winner's mentality with you as you enter your classroom. So what the person to the left of you is pessimistic. So what the person to the right of you is zoned out. You, yes you, can only be concerned with staying locked in because you refuse to let the aura of your classmates or classroom enter into your mental space. See, this race is won by the one that can distance him or herself from the rest of the pack. And those are facts. So I need you to realize that there will be bad days. There will be times that you feel like you have no earthly idea what your teacher or professor is talking about. But what you will never ever do is throw a pity party. What you will never ever do is tap out. What you will never ever do is concede and throw in the towel. What you will do is knock on his or her door and say, listen, I only have one option, and that is success in your class. But right now, I'm confused about the lesson you taught today, and I need clarity, and I need it now. I guarantee, if you are passionate about wanting to achieve success in that class, he or she will bend over backwards to help you. But if you settle for mediocrity and never say anything, you are setting yourself up to fail, and failure, my friend, is not in your DNA. I promise. You're not the first person to question whether or not they have what it takes to achieve at a high level. I promise you're not the first person to feel like they are underperforming. I promise you are not the first person to feel like their brain is about to explode. Listen to me. Those that can push through no matter what storms arise are in the small minority, that small percentile of those that ultimately break through and make their goals and dreams a reality. So the reality is this. You were born with everything you need to pass every class with flying colors. You were born with everything you need to overcome the anxiety that may pop up from time to time on a mission to derail your lifelong hopes, dreams, and aspirations. See, my favorite acronym is HWPO. And just in case you forget, or just in case you don't know, that means hard work pays off. So winners like us never lose focus. And we're horrified and petrified whenever someone tries to tell us to take the easy route. Because we already know there is no easy route. Because if it were easy, everyone would do it. So we avoid that ignorance and get back to our grind of studying harder than we've ever studied before, because we understand that you get out of it what you put into it. So we pour our heart and soul into our homework. We pour our heart and soul into studying for exams. That way, we sleep like a baby because we know in our heart of hearts that we have put every ounce of our being into our work, and therefore, success is a foregone conclusion. After all of the hard work, after all of the studying, after all of the blood, sweat, and tears, you still fail. I need you to really hear. And never forget this. You never fail, you never lose, you only learn. See, life will knock the mess out of you when you least expect it. It's part of the process. See, that's when you have to tell yourself, because of this setback, I'm strong. Because of this setback, I'm wiser. Because of this setback, I'm smarter. And because of this setback, I'm hungrier than ever. So I say all of this as a friendly reminder. You got this. You were born to be spectacular. So I need you to jump over the obstacles. I need you to go around the pitfalls, and I need you to push through the adversity, because that dormant volcano of success that's living inside of you is just waiting for you to grant permission for it to erupt.
All right. Again, another video that left me motivated and encouraged. And the key essence of the video that I want you, if you don't take anything away from the video, is push yourself. It's not that you're not going to face adversity. It's what will you learn about yourself when you do. And there were so many different words that stuck out, but one of the things that stuck for me is when he said failure is not in your DNA. And so yesterday we heard that you're allergic to average. And today I want you to remember that failure is not in your DNA. That is the essence of educational excellence. Pursuing education, learning, growing, developing as young adults without complaint, rolling up your sleeves and having a good work ethic about it. So as we set the stage with educational excellence for day 2 of the summit, let me share with you what we have in store for you today. First, we will have next Mr. Jonathan Wright, who will be sharing money matters for students and other financial gems, I'm sure. And then we'll take a brief break. We may take a break. We'll look at our time. We may push the break to a little bit later, so please grant me some break flexibilities today. But then we'll also hear from Ms. Sharon Stone after that, who will talk about our civic responsibility and why your vote matters. Yes, even as young adults, your vote matters in both local and all of local, state, and federal elections. So many of you are either 18 and above or about to turn 18 soon, and we want you to know that you have a responsibility to yourself and to your community. Then I will join you back to talk about college funding strategies. I wish someone had told me. Financial aid. We're going to get into a little bit of talk on scholarships. I know that was a big topic that came up in the survey results yesterday. Guess what? We'll cover that today. And then we would be remiss if we didn't give students an opportunity to hear from students. So we have a college student and recent graduate panel who will be joining us this afternoon, sharing their college insights, internship, if they were in a Greek sorority or fraternity, and other topics. They'll be sharing their experiences with you. And then we'll end today with another brief survey, so please don't leave before the benediction, as they say in church. Don't leave before the closing remarks are over, and make sure that you stick around for the survey, and we will be announcing the winners of our scholarship giveaway that we initiated yesterday afternoon. So those students who participated yesterday, stuck around to the end, and rose to the occasion by actually spending their afternoon and evening applying for our scholarship. For those who didn't know, they had till 10 o'clock last night to submit their scholarship applications. And so with that being said, will share more about those who actually won today. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce Mr. Jonathan Wright. And so, as I read his bio, he is going to tee up his slides for the group. And I'm going to pin him real quick so that you'll see him when we're done. So who is Mr. Jonathan Wright? He is a financial advisor and director of expansion at Transamerica Financial Advisors Incorporated. He is also currently a licensed financial professional and registered representative with more than 10 years of financial coaching, mortgage consulting, business strategy consulting, and financial analysis experience with corporate, private, and government organizations. He utilized his financial background and analytical skills to resolve complex issues that ultimately resulted in significant cost savings and increased profit margins for corporate and government organizations. Now his focus is on using his financial background and knowledge to help individuals reach their financial goals, create a legacy, and I really like that, creating a legacy, and generating wealth. Also, and I saved this part for last, Mr. Wright is a graduate of the Hampton University with a bachelor's in finance, my alma mater, y'all, from yesterday, who caught that. And also, he received his executive MBA from the University of Maryland Smith Business School of Business. So with that being said, please join me in welcoming Mr. Wright. You're on mute.
Let me get off mute here. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity. This is amazing event and much needed in our community. I wish, we've had this information passed down for generations and generations, but unfortunately, a lot of times the information is not shared. So we need to make sure that we have these type of events and we have as much participation as possible, because we all want to grow and learn together. So what I'm going to speak about today is really near and dear to my heart, and it's about money. And a lot of times people, they learn the hard way. If you ask your parents, they went through this school called the School of Hard Knocks. And it's a very expensive school to enroll in. And you don't want to learn the hard way. You want to learn from wisdom, and you want to learn from people who have gone there, been down those roads before. And then also you want to learn from people who are successful today. And that video that you just showed was amazing. I really believe in positive affirmations. I mean, that's very key and critical. It brought me through college. Just staying positive and being around other positive people who are going places. Your affiliations and the information that you feed in your mind is so critical to your success. So you want to be mindful of that as you enter the next phase of your life. And that's for adults as well. And so really looking forward to sharing some information that I think is actionable, that you can utilize today. You can also increase your knowledge, and at least pique your interest so that you can do more research, because there's only so much that we can cover in this short amount of time. And so really excited to dive in. Actually, the first video I was going to show you was very similar to that last one with the positive affirmations. So I'm just going to post it so everybody sees it. But one individual that I follow, like on YouTube, social media, is Eric Thomas. So ET. So if anybody has heard of him or has not heard of him, please look him up. I actually met him at the National Harbor probably a couple years ago, and just very inspiring gentleman that provides positive affirmations and is great for young people as well. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to share my screen with you. But I want to make sure that as we're going through, if you have questions, put it in the chat. And at the end, I'm going to open it up so that anybody can ask a question at that time. So if you could turn your screens on so I can see everybody, that would be helpful. And if you can see my screen, please give me the thumbs up. All right, fantastic. So one of the first things, as before we jump into, money and what's money all about, the first thing is you got to understand, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? So if you really start thinking about a maze, when you're trying to solve a maze, where's the best place to start? Is it at the beginning or is it at the end? And you can go off mute for this if somebody has a perspective on this. I'm real curious about when you're trying to tackle a problem, and we'll use maze as an example, a maze. Do you start at the beginning or do you start at the end? Anybody put it in the chat? Or have
Yes, there's several people who said the end.
the end? Okay. So can somebody tell me why you would want to start at the end to solve a maze? You don't have to be shy. There's no wrong or, right. It's just your perspective. So if you think about it.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, please. Please, Alex.
All right. So I feel like once you're at the end, it's kind of easier to get out of it because at the beginning, it seems like a lot. But say if you start backwards and you start at the end, it might just seem easier getting out of it.
I like that. I agree with that. Anybody else have a perspective? Thanks, Alex.
There's several in the chat. One individual said, I know what I want to accomplish, but start at the beginning and work through one step at a time. And then someone else said, ideally, you want to see where you're going to have an understanding where to start.
That was insightful. That was good. Both of those answers were good. But starting at the end, now you can kind of figure out a game plan, right? Because you already know how the end is going to look. You have the end in sight. So you can start planning strategically. All right, how do I actually meet this objective if I'm starting from square one? I know where I want to end. I know that the road is going to be challenging, but sometimes if you start without the end in sight, it can be overwhelming. It can be stressful. It can be you're going down these wrong paths every turn and you're thinking you're going the right direction, but you hit a roadblock. Then you got to circle back. Then you got to go back and start again. So starting at the end, think about that from your career and from your life perspective. Think about what do you want the end to look like? In fact, I was just in Philadelphia with my financial advisory team, and we just got back this afternoon. And one of the things we talked about, and it brought a lot of us to tears, is that we wrote our eulogy. We actually wrote it, and I never was challenged to do that in any group exercise. And they were like, what would people say about you? Like, what would you accomplish? Do you want to be forgotten? Do you want to leave a legacy? Like, what does that legacy look like? So it really forced us to get out of our comfort zones and think about the end versus the beginning. And I tell you, if you go through that exercise, it's so powerful, and share it with a loved one. Because it is so that they can see how you want your life to live. And then it also allows you to see, I have a lot of things I need to accomplish. So if I want to accomplish all these things to get to the end, there's a lot of things I need to do now to start putting things in place. So one of those things you can do is create a vision board. We're very visual people. And so a vision board can be used on PowerPoint. My daughter, we make the kids do one every year. They do it on PowerPoint. You go to magazines and clip out clippings and create it. And it tells your story about what your vision actually looks like. Very powerful exercise. And then also research professions that you wish to pursue. So what kind of profession do you want to be in? A lot of times people enter college and they enter a profession and they end up switching altogether. They're not even no longer doing anything related to what they majored in. Maybe because they didn't start with the end in sight, right? But sometimes your interests change as you evolve and you grow, and that's okay as well. So those are some of the things you want to start thinking about, is doing some major hardcore research on where you want to go. More importantly, how much are you going to make in that profession? So you can pick this profession that you love to do, but then it turns out you're not making no money. And then your lifestyle that you want to live is completely different than the profession that you're in. So you got to have some alignment with where you want to live, how you want to live, with the profession that you're going to pursue. So that income trajectory is so critical. So one of the things that I study was Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. So it's a book. He wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you have not read that, you want to write that down and put that on your list of reading. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, but he has another book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And it's really, he breaks it down so simply. There's 4 ways to produce income. You have linear income versus leverage and residual income. But then the 4 buckets, everybody falls into 1 or 2 or multiple buckets. So you got the employee mindset. You go to job, they teach you to go to school, get good grades, get a good job. Hopefully you can retire at some point. Pensions are going away. Hopefully you get Social Security. If you're young and on this call, don't bank on it, not guaranteed, right? And then so now the whole onus is on you to prepare for your financial future. That means you have to take all the risk. And so don't count on government assistance. If it's there, fantastic. But if not, it's all going to be on you and how you plan. And it begins with the end in sight again, and how you plan your career, your trajectory, and your habits. But in employee mindset, there's no leverage. So you're creating a situation where you're trading time for dollars. The more time you work, the more dollars. Unless you're salaried, then it doesn't matter. They work you to the death and you make the same amount. And then again, they're going to tell you how much you're worth. So if you think you're worth more, you're going to be frustrated because they're going to say, no, you're worth X amount. This is the contract you signed to work for us. So you're going to work for this amount no matter how hard you work. Hopefully you get some promotions along the way. Then you got self-employed. You own a job. These are individuals that are entrepreneurs typically, but they're still trading time for dollars. So that time for dollars, now you're trading typically more time for quote unquote, hopefully more dollars. But now you have more flexibility because you own that job. You're self-employed. Then you have business owners. You own a system. The system is going to work regardless if you're there or not. You don't have to put in time for vacation time like an employee. Business owner, you take time off, but your business is still thriving and working because you're leveraging a system and you have a network of people that are working with you, which transferring a business into more dollars. It's scalable. So that's where you see 95% of the wealth is with business owners. Then if you look at investors, you own investments. So that can be real estate. That could be cryptocurrency. That can be stocks. That can be bonds. So there's a plethora of different types of investments that you can buy that are going to increase in value with the market. And so when you're sleeping, your money is making money for you. Your money is always working for you while you're sleeping. So you're typically going to be in 2 of these buckets. Most people are employed, or they might be an investor through their 401k, which is the company that you work for will offer some investment plan with some tax benefits that you can contribute to. So you want to start that as soon as possible. You know, self-employed, you got to set up your own retirement plans. Business owners, same thing. So the B and I is where you see billionaires. Billionaires, multimillionaires are going to be in B and I. Self-employed, you're going to see some millionaires there, but they're going to be working very extremely hard to get there. Employees, very rare, unless you've been working there 20, 30 years and you saved a ton of money. So you can still get there in all of these buckets, but the higher probability is going to be in the business owner and investor side. Any questions about that in the chat or comments or thoughts? Okay. So, you know, the thing about school is fantastic. You want to get good grades and all those things. But they prepare you how to make money. But it doesn't prepare you how to grow, save, and protect your money. 2 different things. So it's going to show you how to interview well, how to look the part, how to speak professional, communicate well. But then after you make the money, it's not going to show you what to do with that money. And that's one of the most key things. I've seen people work 20, 30 years and have nothing to show for it. They worked their whole entire life and made millions of dollars and haven't saved a dime. And I scratch my head and I'm like, how is this possible that you've made all this money and haven't saved anything or have anything to show for, no legacy to pass on, nothing? And it's because of lack of education. So if you look at this, are today's students prepared to make financial decisions? New study finds US high schools are missing the mark on personal finance. Only 16.4% of US students are required to take a personal finance course to graduate high school. That is crazy to me. Virginia's one. So if you live in Virginia, you know, Maryland's on there, New Jersey, and there's more states that are adding these programs. But you have to make sure as a student that you're actively seeking this information. Because if you're not, you're going to miss the boat. You're going to graduate. Congratulations. You're going to go to college. Congratulations. You're going to get a job, and then you're not going to know what to do. So you got to have a game plan, but you got to understand how you want to live your life. What does your lifestyle look like? My daughter's 9. She already told me she wants to be extremely wealthy. She's like, Dad, I want to be rich. She's like, I want to live a certain lifestyle. She's like, I want to have this house, this many rooms, this many kids. She got it all planned out. But I was like, well, how are you going to get there? And so we started building a game plan. So now she's intentional going to 4th grade, knowing that her grades now and the way that she gets good grades now is going to propel her in the future. But more importantly, what does she do with her money? One of the things that gets people in trouble because of a lack of financial literacy is the D word, debt. Debt will take you down and prevent you from reaching all of your goals. It has a significant impact not only on your financial future, but on your health and on your relationships. Debt is the #1 reason for divorce. So one of the things for young people before you get married, you want to check their credit score, you want to check their debt, you want to see what they got, and you want to be going into the conversation saying, I got a 700 credit score, which we're going to talk about. I got no debt or minimal debt, and I got savings. You want to bring something to the table. And so debt is impacting all of us. And right now you have something called inflation. So if you don't know what inflation is, you want to research it because it's impacting all of your parents' money. So the cost of goods and services are increasing significantly. So therefore, that means it costs more to fill up your gas tank, costs more to go buy groceries, costs more to go to school. Healthcare has increased. Everything has gone up in cost, but everybody's income hasn't gone up at the same percentage. So therefore, you have a deficit. And so now to buy the things that you want, what do you have to do? You have to buy it on credit cards. And so there's good and bad ways to use credit cards, and we're going to talk about that. But if you look at this, a record high student debt load is beginning to weigh on millennials. 45% of students regret taking out as much loans as they did. Got to take out student loans because they, for whatever reason, the parents maybe had not prepared or saved well. You went to an extremely expensive college. You didn't get scholarships because you didn't do what you were supposed to do in school. So there's a lot of ways that you can accumulate debt. 76% of millennials lack basic financial knowledge. 70% of millennials are stressed and anxious about saving for retirement. 34% of millennials live with their parents. So the question is, do you want to live with your parents the rest of your life? I know the parents on here are probably saying, no. We want you to be independent, functioning adults, giving back to your community, and it starts now. Time is your biggest asset. Whoever used time the most effective is going to win. So think about that. Time and savings, you're going to be a multimillionaire. If we have more time, I will show you some numbers that you don't even have to save that much. It's just more so how long are you saving and how consistent you are over time, and then making smart investment decisions. And it's phenomenal. Everybody has an opportunity to be a multimillionaire if that's your goal. So uses of debt, and then I'm going to play a video real quickly to really illustrate this. So the impact on your credit. So your credit report is like your financial report card. So, you know, you get your report card in school, you get A's and B's, things of that nature, which is fantastic. But as adults, you get something called a credit report, which is an adult financial report card that shows how well you are a manager of money. The higher your score, the better manager of money you are and controlling of debt. The lower your score, that means that you have some work to do and you probably need to seek some help, some guidance. So we're going to talk about that, but to create a credit report, a credit score, you need to have some debt. So starting out, you got to have some debt to create a history for them to grade you on. So it's good to have no debt, but if you have no history, then you have no credit report, then that's going to prevent you from doing a whole host of things that you want to do, including buying a home. And real estate is going to be a phenomenal investment in your portfolio. It's one of the best ways to generate wealth. So I'm going to play this video for you just to kind of give you a sense of what credit cards can do to you, but what it can do for you as well, and what it does to your credit report. Give me a
Meet
thumbs up.
Jasmine.
Hear this.
Jasmine is a college student attending State University. Like many college students, Jasmine has a lot of things she needs to buy: books, laundry baskets, food, and so on. And she can pay for those things with two types of money: debit or credit. Debit is money that comes from a personal bank account. Credit is money that is lent to you by your bank. For example, let's say Jasmine has been using a credit card. Each time Jasmine uses the card to buy something, say a $100 textbook, her bank is loaning her the money. While that sounds nice, be warned, the bank isn't giving Jasmine this money for free. They expect her to pay a certain amount of money each month, called interest, if she doesn't totally pay off her balance by the due date. As you can imagine, this can get very expensive very quickly, especially when factoring in the high annual interest rates, or APRs, that are charged by these companies. However, there is a solution to this rather scary problem. As long as Jasmine always pays off her balance in full by the monthly due date, she'll never pay a cent of interest. Jasmine is shocked and thrilled, but still isn't quite sold on credit cards. After all, with all their flaws, are they really worth using? The short answer, as long as you avoid running up a balance, definitely. So why is that? Well, free money for starters. Most credit cards offer their users rewards, like cashback or airline miles, each time they make a purchase. For example, let's say Jasmine's credit card comes with 2% cash back. That means if Jasmine spends $500 per month, then at the end of the month, she'll automatically get $10 back, no questions asked. Then, if that wasn't good enough, responsibly using a credit card also allows Jasmine to build a great credit score. This is a calculated number between 300 and 850 that summarizes your credit history, covering everything from your payment history to the age and status of your accounts. While we'll teach you more about your credit score, including how to get and improve it, in our next video, Credit Scores and Reports 101, just know for now that most credit cards actually require a credit score of at least 600, plus at least $15,000 in annual income, and a reasonable debt payment to income ratio, generally below 36%. However, thankfully for Jasmine, who lacks both credit history and a full-time job, she shouldn't have a problem getting a student credit card. In fact, the online application will take all of 5 minutes. She'll just have to be a full-time student of at least 18 years of age, with either a small amount of income, like from a part-time job, or a credit-worthy cosigner. However, at this point we have to say, be careful. Taking on a cosigner is no small matter. The account is still in your name, so any credit mistakes are on you and your cosigner. Plus, your cosigner is even liable for any of your missed payments. If Jasmine isn't quite ready for that level of responsibility, she can instead be added as an authorized user to her family's account. Not only will this allow her to get her own credit card, but in a few short months, the credit bureaus will treat her parents' credit score as her own. Sounds pretty great, right? Well, this strategy isn't a cure-all. Even though Jasmine isn't liable for payments on the account, her parents still are. Plus, many lenders will want to see you successfully handling credit on your own before giving you a major loan. Hopefully you and Jasmine now understand the basics of credit cards. Be sure to watch our next video, which covers everything you need to know about credit scores, and be sure to check out our website, where you can find
You're on mute.
I'm going to pause there and give everybody an opportunity to ask some questions or put it in the chat. They covered a lot of good information there. A lot of pertinent information. We're going to make sure you get these videos so you can watch them again. But definitely want you to make sure you understand that concept. It's a double-edged sword with credit cards. Good uses of debt, and then there's bad uses of debt. So good uses of debt are any debts that are going to appreciate in value, like real estate. A lot of people take out loans for their house because they can't afford to buy it outright. And so that's an appreciating asset. You know, so you want to look at that versus buying credit cards to buy those new Jordans, you know, or buy some frivolous things, a car, for example. You know, it's a depreciating asset, but a lot of times you got to use debt for that. So one question I'm seeing here, how did they say you can get the credit score of your if you're a co-signer or parent? So essentially there, your parent would be, you know, can be an authorized user. They can co-sign for you. And that will help you in terms of at least getting some type of credit history. But again, to get any big type of loan, like a mortgage or auto loan, they're going to want to see that you personally have credit in your name and have shown a history of having, you know, some responsibility with that money and with that debt. So definitely want to do your research on that and make sure that whoever is on board to co-sign for you understands the implications of that, right? So that's super, super important. Dr. Murray, I've just switched to my video. So if you could read any other questions that came up.
Sure. One question is, would you recommend to get a credit card at the age of 18?
I would, if your goal is to eventually buy a home, then you're going to need to build credit history as soon as you can. Because that's one of the largest components of your score is, you know, paying on time, having a history of paying on time, and how long you've had the accounts open. So if you don't have any accounts open, that clock doesn't start ticking until you actually open an account. So yes, in that regard, if that's your game plan and you are responsible. So you got to be in a position mentally to handle that responsibility and maybe just keep the credit line very small, like $250, $500, so you don't go crazy on it, right? So you got to think about that as well. What are your spending habits? Also, I highly encourage you to create a budget first. See what income is coming in, look at all your expenses, and see what your discretionary is. Where's the money going to come from that pay off that debt? Otherwise, do not charge your card. If you got no money coming in and no way to pay off that debt, then that's just going to hurt your credit score even more. Dr. Murray, I think you might be on mute, but.
Yes, thank you. There's another good question in the chat. How early can you invest in the stock market? Great question.
Oh, well, I mean, I can tell you right now, if your parents, and we're going to talk about that, it's called an UPMA account. You can start as early as your parents open an account on your behalf. They'll be the owner and you'll be the beneficiary. And then once you get of age of 18, then it will relinquish to you. I know my daughter, she started investing when she was 6 years old. And she actually has her own account and she picks her own stocks. I do not pick her stocks for her. I put the money in. She just has to give me her explanation in theory for why she wants to buy it. If it's satisfactory, then she can go ahead and buy the stock. So you can't just be gambling, you know, with buying stocks, but you want to have some type of, perspective on why you're buying a particular stock, but you can start as early as your parents will open an account for you. So speaking of stocks, one of the ways you're going to make money in stocks is called compound interest. So if you don't take anything away from what we talk about today, the rule of 72 is probably the most critical. And there's a video, we don't have a lot of time to go through that video, but I'm going to share it with all of you to watch it, but I'm going to give you the concept. So the rule of 72 was derived by a smart gentleman called Albert Einstein. I'm sure everybody's heard of Einstein, right? Sharp individual, came up with this concept of compounding your money. And it's phenomenal. And this is how wealthy people get wealthier. So let's run through an example. Say you earned 1% on your money. So in the bank, now because of inflation, you can actually earn 1% on your money if you have it in the correct savings account. We call it APY, annual percentage yield. Every bank account, checking account, savings account has an APY. You just have to look it up to see what yours is. The average right now, you can go on a site called bankrate.com and you can find the highest paying savings accounts in the country. And the average I've seen is 1.2 to 1.5%. But just say you make 1% on your money. Excuse me, 1% divided by the number 72, that's why they call it the rule of 72, will give you how many years it takes for your money to double. So if you divide that, then you're going to get 72 years. It takes 72 years for your money to double. So if you're 29 years old with 10,000 in the bank and you're earning 1% on that 10,000, to double that 10,000 is going to take you 72 years, which brings you to 101 years old. You now have 20,000, congratulations, but you're not alive to enjoy it. Does that sound like a good deal to you? But where's most people money sitting? In the bank, making no money for them. It's safe, it's FDIC insured up to 250,000, but you're not making any money. So this is great to have your money in a bank account for emergency funds, for short-term obligations, to pay your bills, but for investments, terrible investment. 4%, that means most mortgages, if you're earning 4% or paying 4% on your mortgage, it takes 18 years to pay off that debt. But most mortgages are 30 years. So that means that a 4% mortgage is going to take you, you're going to pay double for your home. $500,000 home now costs you $1 million. But earning 4% on your money is going to take you 18 years for your money to double. So now you go from 29 to 47 to age 65. Now you got $40,000 in the account. 6% at 65, you now have 80,000. 10% at 65, you now have 320,000. This is very impactful because the rate of return is so critical to you building wealth. And where you're going to get a rate of return is in the stock market. So you got to be invested in risk assets, meaning you're going to have to take some element of risk to actually reach your goal. And so 10% might be aggressive for some, but over the last 3 years, if you look at the last 3 years, not counting this year, the market was over 20% in the last 3 years. And each year, 20, 23, 25% SPY, which is the Standard & Poor's index. So 10%, you exceeded that. But now this year, we're down, 12 to 15%, even though we're coming back in the short term. But over the long term, you average 8% rate of return on your money since the 1920s. So you got to be invested, and your biggest asset, again, is time and compound interest. Those two things will make you wealthy. Dr. Murray, please stop me on my time, because then I'll keep moving. But in terms of this slide here, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr.
Sorry, you have 10 minutes.
10 minutes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this slide, this is more so for the parents, but as a student, you really need to think about these different stages. You need to start thinking about beyond high school, beyond college, because life is going to happen, and either it's going to happen with or without you. Like, are you going to be ready or you're not going to be ready? And so stage one, if you look at this, going to college, paying off student loans, tuition and books, food, those are taking Spanish, living expenses. All those things are going to be costs that you're going to incur before you graduate. You know, paying off your student loans happens after you graduate. But one of the things that you can do to minimize your debt, Dr. Murray might touch on this, is through scholarships. And scholarships are going to be critical to you reducing your debt load so that you can focus on building when you get out of school. And one of the things you can do to help your parents out is get the best grades you can get. Do the community service, do those things in the community, do those things that are going to make you more marketable to get into a school that you want to go to. That's going to prepare you for the future, but also pay for it. Stage 2 is now you're thinking about starting a family, wedding, starting a business, buying a home, buying a car. These things are critical and they all cost money, and a lot of money, might I add. So you want to start thinking about that, because that's going to increase your debt load if you don't prepare properly for that. At some point you're going to travel, you want financial freedom, you want to give to your favorite charity, and you want to retire. Retirement is your ultimate goal. Those that retire well, they saved well, they did well in their working years, they had somebody guiding them, they got them to a great place. And then lastly, the 2 things you can guarantee in life, you're going to pay taxes and you're going to die. Nobody wants to talk about that, but those 2 things are for certain. And so you want to prepare for that, and you do that through life insurance. And so you want to get that as soon as you can in terms of getting life insurance, because that is the #1 way to build wealth and create a legacy for your family. So you want to talk this over with your family to make sure you have adequate life insurance, especially if you're a parent, you have children, and even get life insurance on your child, because that is where you can create significant tax-free growth within your life insurance policy that will serve you well in retirement, and also help pay for the down payment on your house, to buy a car, a wedding. So you want to get that as soon as possible so you can get that tax-free growth. And that's a whole nother class in itself, just how to use life insurance properly to create an immediate estate, which is tax-free. I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. We'll save that for a future class, but take a snapshot of these things, because these are what you need to study and understand how they work. Savings account, self-explanatory. Most people know how that works. Savings bonds. You want to research savings bonds. 529 plans. These vary by state, but they're an excellent way to pay for college, but it can only be used for education. So if your child does not go to college, maybe they're going to a trade school, maybe they're going to be a full-time entrepreneur, maybe they get a full scholarship, things of that nature. So you only can use the 529 plan money for educational expenses, qualified educational expenses. Some states have prepaid, some people have the invest. Prepaid means you're going to pay a set amount to go to a specific school in your state, typically a state school. And then that will pay for it if you just make that payment that they state pay, and they'll pay the difference regardless of the cost in the future. So you're limited in terms of the school you can go to, but it's going to be paid for. And the invest option gives you more flexibility. You can invest in the stock market, in different mutual funds and things of that nature. That money will grow with the stock market, but you can only use it for educational expenses, and there's an element of risk. But now you can go to any school that you want and even use it for grad school. You can also give it to a blood relative if that child, gets a full ride. Then you can also defer to a blood relative as well. Life insurance. There's a book called The Power of Zero. I highly encourage your parents to read it, for you to read it, but it shows you how to have a tax-free retirement by David McKnight, The Power of Zero. Talks all about how to use life insurance to buy real estate, to retire, to have a pension. It's a beautiful vehicle that can be used extremely well for your children because of time.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yes.
There's a question related to life insurance. A
Okay.
student asked, how old do you have to be to get life insurance?
I got my daughters when she was 6 months old. So as soon as you are born, hopefully your parents understand how this works. If not, they're seeking a financial professional to guide them through this. But it is a phenomenal tool. You want to get it as soon as you can. Why? Because the cost of insurance is based off of your age and your health. And when are you the healthiest? When you're young. You're young, now therefore the cost of insurance is peanuts, and therefore you can stack money in your life insurance policy, creating your own personal bank that you have access to anytime you need it. College, down payment on a house, wedding, retirement, car. Phenomenal way, and it's all tax-free. Beautiful. Last one is investing. So UPMA and UGMA. And so we won't go too much in detail, but these are ways that you can invest for your children. Your grandparents can even invest and put money into these accounts for you. And you can grow money and invest in different stocks, mutual funds, even real estate and crypto and art and different types of investments as well within these vehicles. So you want to work with a financial professional that can guide you and set these up properly for you and help you invest it properly. But these are usually the strategies that you want to deploy for your child's future, but it also depends on your discretionary income. How much money do you actually have to invest, save for your children? That's where budgeting comes into play. So I'll pause there. I know I gave a lot of information, but I want to open it up for any questions, and then we'll have more of these discussions for sure on these different topics. As you see, I had a ton of slides, and unfortunately, I can't share them with everybody, the slides, because they still have to be approved for the public to display. But we can have more of these conversations in the future in terms of setting up future events. But take a snapshot of this right here, this slide. This will kind of give you a general overview of the different areas that you want to focus on as you're building your financial future: cash flow, emergency fund, debt management, proper protection, that's your long-term care, your life insurance, your disability insurance, your annuities, you're building wealth, outpacing inflation, and lastly, preserving wealth through estate planning. So some of these are a little complex for someone just starting out, but at a very minimum, as you're starting out, these first three, you need to have those a solid understanding of cash flow, emergency fund, and debt management. Here's my information, my QR code. If you want to schedule an appointment with me, if you want to schedule another event, workshop, things of that nature, I'll be happy to do it. Next month's Life Insurance Awareness Month. So we're going to be doing a big presentation on that life insurance and how to use it effectively, how wealthy individuals use it, where you're protected from lawsuits, child support, and bankruptcy. And I mind you, Donald Trump's one of the largest holders of these products. So wealthy people understand how these things work, so should you. So thank you for your time. Open up for any questions if we have time. And otherwise, have a blessed day. I appreciate your time.
All right, I have time for maybe one, maybe two questions. Let's see. I know there were a couple of questions earlier. Someone said, I bought a Roth IRA and just got a credit card. Do you think that is enough for now while I'm in college?
You're off to a good start. I will say that for a Roth IRA, typically you need earned income. So that must mean you have a part-time job at the school or you have some type of earned income. Roth IRA is phenomenal. For those who don't know what that is, that's a retirement account that allows you to save your money tax-free. You can invest in a lot of different stocks, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, different types of investments. And that money will grow tax-free. You can't touch it till 59 and a half. So it's strictly for retirement. Unless you want to buy a home, then there's some stipulations where they allow you to pull the money out prior to without a 10% penalty and taxes. But to avoid taxes, a phenomenal tool. So I would say, yes, you're off to a great start. Definitely make sure you don't run up a balance on that credit card. You pay it off in full every single month, build credit over time, and you're off to a great start. So I would say, yes, if your discretionary income doesn't allow you to do anything more than that, then I would say you're off to a great start. The only other thing that is life insurance, but getting the proper life insurance that will grow tax-free. So definitely consult a financial advisor to set it up properly for you.
And the last question we have time for is, could you elaborate on the difference between a savings bond and a savings account?
Okay, that's good. Savings account is going to grow based off the interest, the annual percentage yield that the bank is offering. So every bank has a different APY. That means what they're going to pay you for you depositing your hard-earned money into their bank. But I would tell you right now, what they're doing with your money is they're investing in getting a much higher interest rate than what they're paying you. So they're making what they call the spread. So it's a fantastic business model to be in. They take all the deposits in and they pay you less than 1% typically, and then they're going to make 8, 10, whatever percent because they're investing the money. But it's safe, it's secure, and it's accessible, it's liquid. Savings bond typically can work really well if you get the right type of savings bond. You can get typically a higher interest rate than you get at the bank. However, it does fluctuate, and you can, depending on what type of savings bond you get, you could lose, money, your principal, some principal, but they're typically very secure, especially if it's backed by the federal government. Those are extremely, if you go corporate savings bonds, then you're taking a little bit more risk because it's based on how the performance of that particular company. But if you're doing the federal government, there's fantastic bonds you can get. It's a great rate of return in this environment, high inflation environment. So you want to look at both. However, if you had to choose between those two, I would probably say a mix between them, but then I would look at investments. Strongly advise looking at investments to get a much higher rate of return, especially if you're young. Stocks specifically.
Fantastic. Well, let's all give Mr. Wright a round of applause or hit your little hand clap on your reaction button, whichever is your preference. But I'll just say he just shared a wealth of knowledge in a short amount of time. So I hope that you took away some golden nuggets. Money matters. And I'll tell you this, the earlier you're able to employ some of the tips and strategies that he shared, the better off you'll be. And what I will commit to do, since he can't share his entire slide deck, is certainly make sure that we put a few of his slides, his ending slide with his contact information, so that you can reach out to him if you have specific questions or would like further financial assistance. Certainly reach out to him. Start young and make that money so that when you get older, you don't have to work as hard to live comfortably. So fantastic job, Jonathan. That's how we do it as Hampton University alumni. Got to put my plug out there. So excellent job. And thank you so much. Feel free to stick around if you want to listen and pick up some other golden nuggets because we have some other phenomenal discussions coming up. So up next, we have Miss Sharon Stone. Let me pin her to the group, and I'm going to share her bio with you. Miss Sharon Stone is a highly respected public servant and committed advocacy community leader. She is mission-driven and a proven leader. Sharon is also a certified defense financial manager with the Department of Defense with over 40 years of civilian service. Sharon demonstrates her leadership abilities through successful serving the National Coalition of 100 Black Women at the national, state, and local levels. She's also very active in her local chapter, the Prince William County chapter. Sharon is a CEO and a business owner of Claystone Coaching LLC, helping women to define what it is they desire and empower them to achieve their goals and aspirations. And Miss Sharon, when I saw your picture, I said, I know her from somewhere. And I said, where do I know her face? And when I finished reading your full bio that she sent, we go to the same church. I have seen her stand up hundreds and hundreds of times sharing our church announcements at First Mount Zion Baptist Church here in Dumfries, Virginia. So let me just say, good to see you again. And everyone, please join me in welcoming Sharon. And I'm going to pull your slides up now.
Oh, great. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And Dr. Murray, thank you for this opportunity to share. I am here to talk about civic responsibility. And before we get started, I'd just like to know, just by you typing in the chat, When I say civic responsibility, what comes to your mind? What's the first word or two words that come to your mind? If you could just type them in the chat, please. I see political, I see voting. Anything else? Community involvement? Yes, yes. Anyone else? Okay, so when we talk about personal responsibility, when I talk about civic responsibility, there are some key civic responsibilities as a citizen of the United States voting is one that's very critical, that allows us to have a voice in the process in our country and at the federal, state, and local levels. Paying taxes, that's a civic responsibility. That's how we resource, education and those things, the highways and all of those things that we all enjoy as citizens of our country. Serving on jury duty. I was just thinking as I was writing out my notes, I in all of my years, I have not been called to jury duty. Now they have to call me, but all of that's another example of civic duty. And registering for the selective service. We have a volunteer armed forces in our country, and registering is another way of exercising your civic responsibility. But this afternoon, what I want to talk about is voting. And how many of you, of those who are able, voted in the last election? If you can just maybe just a yes, a thumb up, or whatever in the chat. Very good, very good, very good. And did you know that if you are going to be 18 before November the 8th, that you can pre-register so that you can vote as well? I want to just give some statistics. In 2016, only 39% of our young adults, and young adults defined by the Census Bureau, it's 18 to 29-year-old, only 39% voted in, and that's in the federal elections, and that's voting for the president. In 2020, however, there was 50% of the young adults who voted in that election, and that was a historic turnout. We've been able to vote since 1972, but the 2020 election was a historic turnout, and it was still only 50% of the young adult population that was eligible, meaning that they were within that age group, but actually turned out to vote. So that was an improvement, but there are opportunities to even increase the turnout for vote. Did you know that during the last presidential administration, which was the Trump administration, there were 234 judges that were appointed under that administration, and not one of the 234 looked like me as an African American. There was one Hispanic female, but the rest did not look like me. So how can we change that is with our vote. Your vote is your civic responsibility. It is a way to change those things that we want to change within our community at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. How many of you vote in your state elections for your state representatives? Just a little yes or no. That's for the General Assembly that represents you in your respective states. Very good, very good, very good, very good. Virginia, as an example, is one of the more progressive southern states because we've been able to have a balance in our Senate and our House of Representatives. And it's very important, if you have followed any of the just a little bit of the politics over the last couple of years, we've seen at the federal level how the election of a president of one political party and a Congress of another political party can just put things at a hold. If you recall, when President Obama, his last years of office, he was called what we call a sitting or a lame president, and that's because Congress had decided that they were not going to pass anything that he put forward, that they were not going to support him in any of his executive orders or the executive order he could write, but they were not going to support any bills that came through. So did you know that there are the laws that allow for the federal government to govern how we vote, how we have access to the polls? That law has been rescinded with the last administration. And so right now we have states that have what we call voter suppression. And so voter suppression is like it's anything that can be used to discourage you from going to vote. Again, Virginia is very progressive in that we have absentee ballot voting, absentee voting on Sundays, Saturday, all kinds of things. But there are states that have moved some of their ballot or their voting locations, and people have to drive miles to get to a poll. Showing additional forms of identification. All of those things are forms of voter suppression, and we have 42 of the 50 states have some sort of voter suppression in place to discourage individuals from voting. How many of you know about the Crown Act or even heard of the Crown Act? So you see my hair. For most of you online, it's probably like, okay, that's just a curly fro that she has going on. But there are states and organizations that can discriminate against hiring me because of my hairstyle. And so the Crown Act is one, it's still an act, a bill, because it has not been passed by the US Senate, that prohibits the discrimination based upon my hairstyle and hair texture. Now, I was born with those things. So the style may be different, but the texture of my hair, unless I just perm it all the time or straighten it, it is what it is. So in order for that to become a law, again, for us not to be discriminated, it has to be passed by the US Senate. Why am I sharing these things with you? Just to stress the importance of voting. Voting in your local government is where you get your county board of supervisors, your mayors, your school superintendents. Your state is where you get your state legislators that determine how the federal funding that's been approved is allocated, how teachers are paid in your state and all of those types of things. Even how you have access to voting within the state through voter suppression or not, ballots and all of that. That's at the state level. And at the federal level, if you don't vote for your congressman, then the president's hands can be tied. So it's important to vote at every level in every election. I'm of the mindset that if Snoopy is an election for the dog of the community, then and he's going to have a role in a say in my livelihood, then I'm going to vote for that position. And so on the slide here, do I have time to I want to share with you the link. This is the link to the vote.org. This is a one-stop place that you can check your registration if you're not sure. If you're in college, away from home, you can go on your campus and do absentee ballot voting. If you're in high school and you're going to be 18 before November, you can check and even pledge to register, so you'll get a notification to register when you're able to so that you can vote in the upcoming election. You can, this is just a one-stop place that you can, everything that you, any question that you have about voting, encourage your friends, family, all to register to vote. And then when it's time to vote, actually get out and vote, exercise your vote. In the interest of time, I think Dr. Murray, I'm almost up with my time, but there is a video that I have here about My Vote Will Count. It's a 3-minute video that just talks about the balance of powers and civic responsibility. And sometimes we get frustrated with the government and say that the man or the system isn't working for us, when actually we need to look at what and how we are showing up and do it and exercising our civic responsibility to vote. And that is what that slide has here. So with that, Dr. Murray, you let me know with my time because I don't want to go over. I know we have a packed schedule.
Yes, this has been great. I know. I want to give an opportunity to see if there are any questions from the audience. I have one that hopefully may help. Can students vote while they're in college, even if they don't do kind of an absentee ballot or vote early at home? Do college campuses allow voting?
Yes. Yes. So on the campus, you should be able to go and vote for your respective state. You have to know what the state guidelines are, but the campus should have a voting place that you can vote. And that's why if you go to this link, Virginia may be a little different than Georgia, is a lot different than Georgia, and what it allows than North Carolina, than Florida. So it's important, that's why I gave you that link so that you can see, but on your campus, you should be able to vote. If you're in Virginia and you're a resident of North Carolina, you should be able to vote from your campus and cast that vote, okay?
Thank you. So what I'm hearing Ms. Sharon say, y'all, is don't wait until November 8th to figure out how you can vote and where you can vote. What she's saying is start in August and September, and
Yes.
if you're eligible to vote in this November 8th election, when you hit campus, if you're going back to school soon or you're currently at school or you're planning to go next year, understand what it looks like and do your research, really, and make sure you know what you need to do and where to do it at.
Yes, thank you. Vote.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, I was more concerned about when you had mentioned the Crown Act about like the discrimination against, well, basically African American hair. I was wondering, like, we have the 14th Amendment. Isn't that technically going against the Constitution?
So you're very smart. Yes, it is. It's always subject to the interpretation of the Constitution. And that's why the bill has been introduced, because although the 14th Amendment says that we have a right to freedom, that the texture, there has been a number of cases of discrimination, federal, state, local, where people have not been hired because of the look and the texture and the style of their hair. And basically, as long as you're clean and presentable, you should be and qualified for the job, you should have the same option and the same authority to and recognition for applying for a job or consideration as the next person. Often people that look different from people are often thought of as inferior or less than. And so that's the law that bill is to protect. There are 13 states that have made, at the state level, have made the Crown Act a law. Virginia is one of those, so that they cannot knowingly discriminate against your hair or the texture of your hair. But there are 50 states, not 13. So it's something to think about.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, because I know like businesses, they have like the right to have grooming policies, but that point in time, it's a little bit of a stretch when it comes down to my natural texture of my hair. But that was my concern.
I agree with you wholehearted, Alexa, but that's why it has been an issue because at first there were issues with braids and then with twists and and then it was like braiding. You need to have certified braiders and all of these things, which we've just grown up with someone in the family or in the neighborhood, doing that with our hair. And then in the discrimination in the workplace, just in being hired. And so but the Crown Act, you can Google it and get the rest of the information and see the stories and the instances of discrimination that have occurred across the country around hair and hair texture. But you bring up a very valid point. But in order to understand and make that case, it would take an attorney and a judge understanding that the 14th Amendment was not just for straight hair, So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Well, fingers crossed, and we'll all be paying attention to the Crown Act as it continues to work its way through the Senate and ultimately to the president's desk to become a law. So we want to give another round of applause to Miss Sharon Stone. Let's give her some reactions and some love, y'all. I think it's very important, and we're going to make this a long-standing part of our summits here moving forward, and we do these every August. So Ms. Stone will collaborate offline, but we will see you back because your vote matters. Many young people, just from the stats that she gave us, don't realize how valuable and important they are. People who are like twice, 3 times your age are going to make decisions that affect your life. And I hate to say it this way, but they will have been retired and maybe deceased. And if things they were going to set in motion that are going to affect your livelihood. So if no other reason, get involved. And like I tell my sons who are in college right now, either you part of the solution or you part of the problem. And so to be part of the solution, start thinking about running for local, state, federal positions and political positions, because we need strong-minded, solid, objective, fair, and balanced people in positions. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Feel free to join us. We're going to continue to transition to our next talk. I'm up next, y'all, believe it or not. So please bear with me as I gear up. So yesterday we talked about college planning and careers. If you were here yesterday, please let me know in the chat if you thought that was a valuable conversation, and hopefully you learned something from the conversation that we had yesterday. So today we're going to carry on the second part of that discussion and talk about college funding. Now, for those who were here yesterday, they heard me tell a story about being in high school, sisters in college, wanting to go to Hampton and major in engineering, but I didn't have enough money to pay for it, and I ended up getting scholarships. I had a whole system. I talked about it, broke it down yesterday. Well, guess what? I talked yesterday about the first book that I wrote, trying to help students with college planning based on the things that I learned that I wish someone had told me just about how to get through the college admissions process. And then I'm back again, y'all, to talk about the second book. Now, I'll tell you, I wrote this first book in 2018, and I had family say to me, well, Miss Christie, we got accepted into school, but we didn't realize it was so high. So how are we going to pay for it? So that was the birth of my second book, which is College Funding Strategies I Wish Someone Had Told Me. And just like the first book I introduced yesterday, even this book has its own workbook of templates. So I'm just going to dive in because I want to make sure I use my time effectively. So in this book, you will find strategies, 10 strategies. I'm going to cover some of them today. Some of them. Oh, please make sure you mute your line, whoever's speaking. Thank you.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday, mute your line. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to cover a few of these strategies today, but please listen carefully because there are some golden nuggets here also to help you. I think Mr. Jonathan Wright teed it up. He talked about debt. He talked about saving money, investing, some very important things. So that's a great segue into this conversation. The reason why I wrote this book is because there are 43 million people in the United States that owe over $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. So my vision for this book is to help students just like you go to college, but also graduate debt-free. There are many ways to pay for college, and we're going to talk about some of those. And the ones that I love the most are the ones where you don't have to pay out of pocket. And you don't have to pay student loans back either. So please listen closely. As I talk today, not only am I going to share strategies from the book, but I'm going to give you guys some golden nuggets and some gems from the workbook. So if you see a workbook template reference, I have 10 templates in this book. Those are things that I've already created. You can find them on my website, and you don't have to reinvent them. I've already created them. You just need to use them. You focus on the content. I've already created the process and the documents. So we're going to take another little road trip. I know y'all tired of going on trips with me after yesterday, but we're going to go one more today, and it's a college funding road trip. We're going to talk about how do you assess your current situation. It kind of goes back to what Mr. Wright said about know where you're going and in order to be able to get there. So you got to begin with the end in mind here too. Know the cost of attendance. What does it cost to go to school? Customize your funding plan and approach. Do you even have one? Apply for financial aid. And then look and apply for scholarships. My favorite. I love talking about scholarships, y'all. But we're going to get started. So the first piece of the talk today is, do you know what your current situation is and where you're trying to go? I mean, if I'm going to carry Mr. Wright's theme forward. So if you're a student, do you know your GPA? I asked this question yesterday. If you don't, you should know your GPA after every semester, whether you're in high school or college. Number 2, what do you or your child plan to major in? I always we talked about it yesterday, but why is Miss Christie bringing up a major as we're talking about funding? Because it matters. In order to pick a school, you need to pick a major, or at least have an idea or a few ideas of what you want to major in. Because when you're researching colleges, you need to make sure those colleges have your major and have your program. Very important. And then what type of colleges are you considering? Private or public schools? We talked about that yesterday. Private schools are a little bit more costly than public schools. Do you plan to stay on campus or off campus? What does it cost to go to college for a year? How many of you, let me know if you're in high school in the chat, and just give me a yes or no, parents and students, if you know which college you're thinking about, and do you know how much it's going to cost you to go there for a year? Just give me a yes or no, or whatever your situation is. Okay, I'm seeing a little mix of both. All right, so the ones who do know, fantastic. The ones who don't, stick around for this road trip, and you'll hopefully gain some insights. What is your parents' household income? Let me know, students, yes or no, if you know how much money your parents make. I know my sons can tell you how much I make. They're both in college, and they stay in my pocket, y'all. So I'm trying to get them through college so they can get out of my pockets. Most of y'all said no. Some of you said yes. If you don't know, that means you're living in a nice little bubble. You have no concept of bills or expenses going in and money going out, expenses going out, money for expenses going out, and then money coming in. I need y'all to wake up a little bit as you hit your senior year, junior and senior year of high school. Do you know how much your parents have saved for your college? It goes back to Mr. Wright's talk. Have you had conversations about how you're going to pay for college? That's probably the number one conversation or number one question on this list here. Have you had conversations? Let me know in the chat if you and your parents are talking about whether it's college, community college, vocational trade school, joining the military. Are you talking about those things? If you are not, please start today. And how much have you budgeted for your senior year expenses? Senior year can be a little expensive. As I told everybody yesterday, my son, my youngest son, he applied to 13 schools and we spent $980 alone just on application fees. So if you think that it's cheap or there's a negligible cost, meaning I'm going to stay in this bubble and not have to think about it, think again. We're going to uncover some of those things. So the first step is pay attention to where you are. If you don't know your GPA, you don't know how much your parents make, how much they've saved, where you want to go to school, I need you to start to think differently about your future based on the video we saw earlier. You've got your work cut out to do, and you're going to have to roll up your sleeves. So second on this road trip is to talk about the cost of attendance. Mr. Wright talked about inflation. College is not cheap, and inflation is only making it worse. So the cost of attendance is really just, how much is college going to cost you? You have to think about how much it's going to cost when you're picking a college. Pick a major first, then you pick colleges second. As you're picking colleges, you need to be paying attention to the price tag on them. Why? Because if you put all 50,000, 80,000 a year per year schools on your list to apply for, and then you get to the end of your senior year and you can't afford any of them, what are your other alternatives? Don't put yourself in that situation. There's two different type of costs I want you to think about. There's money you pay directly to the university, and we call that direct cost, such as tuition, room and board if you're going to stay on campus, the housing and the food, that sort of thing. The other aspect of cost is your indirect cost. The books, the courses, any supplies you might need, computers, if you're doing laundry or cell phone bills, medical expenses, transportation even if you're out of state, especially if you're out of state. How are you going to get back home on Christmas break and Thanksgiving break when the campus shuts down? So please know that there are times of the year while you're at school, they want everybody off campus. So make sure you build that into how much it's going to cost you. Also, I talked about it increasing with inflation. There was a little bit of a relief during COVID when many students were at home and doing virtual learning because you didn't have the room and board to pay for. So that cut, in some cases, the cost down by like 50% when the room and board was factored in. Now, some colleges are more expensive than others. But my golden rule to you, please write this down. The golden rule of the day is go where you can afford. There are over 2,000 colleges and universities in the United States, as we talked about yesterday. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you can afford it. You're not stressing yourself out. It does not make for a positive college experience when you're stressed out, or your parents, more importantly. It's your education. So if anybody's going to be stressed, it should be the students and not the parents. But either case, nobody should have to be stressed. But if you look at this U.S. news chart, if you can see, if you're going to a public in-state school, which we talked about yesterday, if you live in Virginia and you're going to a public school in Virginia, it costs you $10,000. But let's say you don't live in Virginia, but you do want to go to school in Virginia, you're going to pay out-of-state tuition. You're going to double what it costs to go to school in some cases. And if you, like me and Mr. Wright and some others, I'm sure, who went to a private school like a Hampton University, private schools generally cost more. And as you can see, substantially more. So the value and understanding, and the reason why I asked the question, do you know what schools you're interested in? Because they have different price tags on them. Just like if you were going in a shoe store, and you're looking at different styles of shoes. They have different price tags on them, and you need to be informed. Now, here's the other thing. Go and get out in 4. Time is money. And the percentage of how much you pay for school increases the longer you stay in trying to get the same degree. What do I mean by that? If you decide you want to go to pick any school, let's just take those high private schools, for example, like the Hampton University. And I tell my mom I'm going to go to Hampton and I'm going to major in electrical engineering like I did. And it was, let's say, a 4-year program. And then I changed my major. Or I failed too many classes and now I have to stay an extra semester or a whole academic year. Guess what? It's going to cost me more money to get the same degree. Don't let that be your reality. So please pay attention and take it serious when you're in college. Because the value of college is, or one of the key things about it is, you're paying for this out of pocket. This is not other people's money. It's your money, your parents' money, or those providers who may have invested in you for scholarships and other purposes. So please take it serious, because I despise taking classes twice in general, just because I didn't want to see the coursework again. But I definitely didn't want to have to pay for it twice. And I hope that's your reality too. The third step along this road trip or this journey is have a plan. I told y'all yesterday, have a college admissions plan. You need to embrace a college funding plan and approach into that. And your plan should be able to answer the question, what am I going to do and what's my plan to pay for college? So if you don't have a plan, get one. Good news, in my books, both books actually, I have included, actually in the college funding book and in the template, there is a plan in here. It's a simple Excel spreadsheet that you can utilize. It has your goals listed, the type of item it is, how much that activity is going to cost you. SAT fees are real, all the college admissions, all those things cost money, even the cost of tuition when you get to college and all the things you have to buy on your way to college. So have a plan, put those things on your funding plan so that you're not surprised and your parents aren't surprised. Have a start and ending date and track your percentage of completion. How much progress are you making? Are you 100% done? I love getting to 100% on things. I feel like such a sense of accomplishment. But also ask yourself, what else do I need to notate about this activity in the notes section? Your plan should be simple but effective. The best plan is a plan that you actually have written down. And like Winston Churchill says, those who fail to plan to fail. And that does not have to be your reality. So as you're thinking about customizing your funding plan, you should be thinking about what are the different ways that I can pay for college, both you, your parents, guardians, other family members who might want to support you. You can pay out of pocket, which means you're going to go to the bank or you swipe your ATM or debit card and pay for it outright. Or as Mr. Wright talked about, that 529, you could have a savings plan. He also talked about permanent life insurance plans. But here's what I didn't hear him say. I didn't really pick up on him saying, parents, use your retirement plans to pay for your kids' education. Now, I personally do not recommend that unless that's like a last resort, because it's just that. Your parents have worked all those years. It's time for you to put in a little sweat equity, young people. Save their resources for retirement, and let's elevate you to be able to earn and support getting your own. But those are some key ways you can pay for college out. And I refer to those as household sources that you have direct control over what you do with those. The next category are outside sources, people, organizations, companies, entities, governments, all those folks. And that looks like financial aid, scholarships, which is free money, grants, which is free money. Well, Miss Christie, why do you call those free money? Because you don't have to pay them back. I love free money. Let me know in the chat if you're allergic to free money. Just type a yes if you're allergic to free money in the chat. So those are the things I want you to be thinking about. And if you work, my nephew, he's actually going to be on a panel later, but he worked at McDonald's and he received a pretty nice scholarship or employer benefit from McDonald's. Who would have thought, right? So all of y'all who don't want to work or don't ask the right questions on your jobs, think differently about that and start asking the question, hey, how do you support students with an education? And they will tell you. Either they do or they don't, and they'll tell you how. So as we're still talking about those things, we're still developing that plan and trying to understand what are the ways we can pay for college. Let's use financial aid. Financial aid is a great way to get help with college, especially if you cannot afford to pay it all out of pocket. It is simply money to help you to pay for college. Who's the number one giver of financial aid in the United States? The federal government. They give out over $120 billion to over 13 million students every year. And that amount may have even gone up with inflation. But their financial aid could be work study, where a student works on campus, and then they offset some of their tuition and expenses by working. They can also give you grants. Well, they will give you funding that you don't have to pay back. That's free money. Or scholarships, which is another great way to get money. The government and even universities give out scholarships as a part of their financial aid packages too. And then there are student loans. I know Mr. Wright talked about those. I'm going to touch on them briefly too. My least favorite option is you not getting an education. I really do believe in the power of an education. It changes lives and it builds legacies. But if you have to take out a student loan, please let it be your last resort, if possible. Because according to the U.S. Department of Education, there's a lot of folks in debt right now. And as you can see here, the average student has about $32,000 in student loan. This was in 2020 when I updated this slide. It's 2 years later. It's probably a little bit higher now, which doesn't help the cause. So if at all possible, you should be doing everything you can do from the time you hit high school to the time you graduate across your college stage to find money and to reduce down or eliminate the number of student loans you have. Now, I want y'all to know I listen, and one of the pieces of feedback I received yesterday in yesterday's survey evaluation was to talk about how much different careers and majors cost. How much money do they earn? Now, since we're talking about college funding and you're thinking about picking majors and picking schools, I thought it would be a great idea to share with you, and these are not Christie's tips. This comes from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So please don't beat me up. But this is a great example of why you need to do research. Because I think you should follow your passion, do what you're great at as you're seeking professions and careers. But you should be informed about how much they cost, how much they make. On the left are the top 10 median salaries within the last 5 years of graduating. 5 years of graduation. Guess what's at the top? Oh my God, Miss Christie. Guess what's on the left, period? All of these are like STEM professions. What? Though, all this time I'm running from math and science and technology and all that sort of thing. They're making the money, y'all. Now, I'm not saying STEM is for everybody, but it's certainly something to consider. You got computer engineering folks making $74,000 right out of after graduating. Let's look at the counter side. The top 10 worst paying college salaries. So the one at the top is one of the lower paying salaries, and the salaries go up as you go down that list. Family and consumer science, social science, performing arts. Now, there is a lot of value. Our society needs these professions. So please don't hear me saying that you should be discouraged. But please know that what I am saying is, please know what your earning potential will be when you're graduating with your undergraduate degree. And it all varies on the state you live in and the cost of living and some of those other factors. But do some research. Don't just pick a career field because it sounds cool. Make sure you know what your earning potential is as you consider majors and colleges. All right. So, yeah, Ramona, the worst paying are all related to education and the arts. That's true, and I'll give you my 2 cents as I advance to the next slide. I think educators and those in our social scientists are the foundation and the cornerstone of our society, and it's very unfortunate that their pay and compensation doesn't reflect that. I'm an electrical engineer by background, so that was never a big challenge for me, but I used to send my kids to school, and I would say, don't you go giving them teachers a hard time. Because they're doing what a lot of people either don't or don't have the courage and don't want to do. And they're educating all of our children, future leaders. So very important professions. And we still need people in those professions. Just know, like Mr. Wright said, you might have to invest differently. You might have to have passive streams of income, like he said, to help compensate and equalize that out for you. All right, so I'm getting back on track, y'all. So step 4 along this journey is apply for financial aid. Can someone let me know in the chat from yesterday, what's the best time to apply for college? What time of the senior year is it the best time to apply to go to college? Come on, one of my scholars. Good. Okay, Lisa, Yasmin say the fall. Excellent. Fantastic. Here's why I share that. I want all the students who I get the privilege of spending time with like this to apply to college between September and November of their senior year. Well, why, Miss Christie? Because most colleges give out their money and financial aid on a first come, first served basis. So if you wait until March to apply, most of the good money is gone and you're going to be stuck like Chuck. So we are going to talk a little bit about submitting your FAFSA. Now, what you don't want to do is submit your FAFSA before October 1st because they release it and they update their information every year on October 1st. Now, the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Now, it is required. Remember we talked about the federal government giving out the most financial aid money? Listen to me, and I don't care if you're on full scholarship, every year you want to fill out your FAFSA. If you want a penny of federal financial aid money, this is a requirement. They use it. They send out your information to all the colleges, and then each college calculates their own version of your financial aid eligibility based on that. It opens up every October, and guess what? It's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. So you and your parents want to sit down and think about what you want to, spend. It only takes maybe about 30 minutes to an hour if you have all your documents together. I've done it for my sons every year. And guess what? I have a calendar alert on my phone, October 1st, to make sure, here it is, to make sure that I do it for the next academic year every October. Well, Miss Christie, you mean I don't just fill out the FAFSA one time as a high school senior? No, ma'am. No, sir. You fill it out every year that you are in college. Every year you will return to college. You must complete it. Yes, even if you have scholarships. So please don't let nobody tell you, all right now, Christy, you got a full scholarship. You ain't got to fill out no financial aid or the FAFSA. Yes, you do. Here's the link to fill it out here. When you sit down with your parents, have your tax documents and forms, your W-2s, your bank statements, all those things to fill it out. And make sure that you have a sign-in as a student and your parents need a FSA ID to sign in and create an account too. Both the student and parents have to have accounts because you both have to sign some things. Now, here's why I said pick a major and pick a college. What do you see in red? Add your colleges. When you sit down to fill out the FAFSA, they're going to say, okay, Christy, which schools are you planning to apply to that you want us to send these to? And every school you apply to, and even maybe a few more you're thinking about but you're not sure about, send them to them. Every school. So they can get it. Because the sooner the school gets it, the sooner they can start calculating your financial aid. If you wait until next year, don't expect to find out about your financial situation until you've done this step. I'm just going to be real. Because I've had students apply early and say, well, I ain't get no money. You didn't fill out your financial aid application. So make sure you do that. Now, what will happen when you do? You will receive a report and it will calculate your expected family contribution. We call it an EFC, and they may be changing this terminology here in the near future. But the EFC is simply, now get this, it's not how much money they want to give you. The EFC is how much money they think you can pay. Yes, you. Not me, but you. They want to know how much you can pay out of your pocket. And they use it, they send it to the colleges, and then they will use it to determine how much they believe you should be paying. They'll look at your family, your parents' income. They'll look at the number of students in your household, the number of students in your home that's in college. Even if you're a student and you have substantial income, except work study, they don't look at your work study income. They will look at those things. They'll look at any assets your parents have. They'll look at the age of your oldest parent, and they'll also look at your assets. So if you own assets like stocks and that sort of thing, don't be concerned. Just know that it will factor into how much they think you can pay out of pocket. Now, I created this because it's very important to make sure we understand how that process works. In blue, and I wanted to do it in a visual because it just makes a lot of sense when you see it in blue. And you see it visually. In blue, you and your parents, you sit down and you complete the forms. It's going to kick out, once you're done and you hit submit, you're going to get that EFC. And guess what? All those schools you selected, they're going to get sent that information too. And in pink. And then after the colleges get it, in green over here, the college is going to, each college is different. Your numbers won't look the same on your financial aid awards from college to college. Every college will give you a different package. But they're going to calculate how much money or how much financial aid they think you're entitled to. Then they're going to send you an award letter. Now, students and parents, do me a favor. Check your mail. Pay attention to, when you're going through this process, you know how many students I've had who didn't check their acceptance letters when they came in and followed the instructions, hadn't filled out their financial aid forms, and they didn't look in the mail as their financial aid awards were coming. They could come by mail. They could come in your email. You have to check these things daily starting now. And also, they could come by you logging into your college or university's portal. So you have to be on the hunt. If you waiting too long and it hadn't come yet, and I'm going to just be passive about it, you're going to be paying out of pocket because you're not going to be able to respond like you need to. But once they send it to you, it will tell you if they're giving you loans, work study, grants, scholarships. And it will also tell you if you have to pay out of pocket. It could be a lot out of pocket, or it could be a little out of pocket, or nothing out of pocket. Very important. This is a very important step. Now, if you have all of your expenses covered, great. Fantastic. Your work is done. Praise God and get ready to prepare for college. If you don't, what if you have a shortfall and they say, all right, Miss Christie, we think you can pay $28,000. What? Me? I don't have that. They think you can pay it though. That's what may come up on your financial aid award letter. Then it's time for you to look for free money, my favorite. So the rest of this talk, I'm going to be talking briefly about free money. I'm going to skip this slide because it's kind of redundant. But I'm going to go, this is the heart of what I want to cover quickly. Even when you're looking for scholarships, have a plan. If you just wake up your senior year and decide I'm going to apply for 2 scholarships and then I'm going to pout because I didn't get enough scholarships, that's unacceptable. You're doing yourself a disservice. I did a TikTok video recently because I had so many students and all it said was, the writing just said, students be complaining that they didn't get scholarships, but they never applied for them. If you don't apply for a scholarship, please don't expect one. Don't put all your eggs in one basket thinking the university that you apply to is going to be your only source of scholarships. Sure, they give out merit scholarships, but they're not the only ones who have funding. So don't put all your eggs, I don't care how high your GPA is and how self-confident you are that your academic performance was stellar. Good job, it is, but don't let that be the only way you apply for scholarships, is through your university. Target different types, large dollar amounts, small dollar amounts. You would be surprised how that money adds up. And don't, for good reason, don't limit where you apply. In fact, my favorite scholarships are local community-based ones. Churches, fraternities, sororities, local organizations, nonprofits. Right there in your local communities. You know why? And this is a gem, so please pay attention. Most students don't apply for them. What? But they're local. They don't look for them and they don't apply. So if you apply for a scholarship and not many people apply, what does that mean? It means you have a higher chance of getting awarded that scholarship. So I don't want you to just apply for the national ones, apply for local ones and some of the others you see listed here. Find you a scholarship mentor. Let's say you want to apply for the Bill and Melinda Gates Scholarship. Well, reach out, look at their website and find someone on that website who's been a recipient before. And then reach out to them and find out what it is they did to get it. Don't run from essays. Very important tip, y'all. During COVID, when SAT and ACT tests were test optional, people were giving out scholarships and they weren't expecting test scores back. What do you think they emphasized as they evaluated scholarships? They looked at your writing. They looked at your letters of recommendation. You have direct control over your essay writing. And when you have 3 or 10 people with 4.0s, what's going to be the differentiator? Or 3.0? How do you differentiate? You're going to look at who put the most time and effort into their essays and is demonstrated. And y'all, please follow directions. Please follow directions. There's different type of scholarships, because I know I'm running out of time. There are need-based, financial need-based scholarships. There are merit-based, which are academic scholarships. Interest-based, military, and athletic. And those are just to name a few. Here's what I want you to do, and this is important too. I had an individual call me up yesterday. My phone number is in both of my books. I had a student, never met her before, call me up. I answered the phone, and she's like, oh my God, you actually answered. Yes, I do answer my phone. So she goes to say she didn't have enough money for school, and she was struggling trying to figure out how to find scholarships. Her grades weren't the highest, and so she didn't think she would be able to find scholarships. I said, on the contrary, the myth is you have to have a high GPA or high test scores to get scholarships. Completely a myth. You can get scholarships for all kind of things. I listened to her tell me that her father lost his job, that she was a first generation student going to college. Her parents never went to school, that she had a learning disability, ADHD, and she was struggling with some things and needed extra support. By the time I finished listening to her just talk about all the things that she thought were problems for her, I said, do you know they have first generation scholarships? They have scholarships for students who have low income situations or parents lost their jobs. And they have scholarships with students with learning disabilities, ADHD, and more. She's like, are you serious? And she went on her way using what she thought were hindrances about her to help her situation. So I tell you that to say, look for scholarships in some very unconventional ways. There's so many different types of scholarships. But what I want to stress to y'all is, please don't say, well, Miss Christie, I don't know where to find those scholarships. Because I'm going to say, did you Google it? Because if you go Google scholarships for ADHD students, a bunch of things pop up. So my question, and I'm going to challenge y'all, where have you looked? So if you're not looking, you're not finding. You should be looking everywhere. So where else can you look? Check with your high school counseling offices. They have a whole wealth of scholarships. The local ones I've been talking about too. They get those all the time. Also, there's a lot of online portals where you can get scholarships, and you can certainly sign up for accounts, and they have a lot of entities and providers populate their scholarships there, and you can search and filter out the ones that apply to you. Also, companies and organizations have scholarships. As you are collecting scholarships, when should you start looking for scholarships? Right now. And as someone put in the chat, it's never too early. If you are a freshman or a sophomore, student or parent, you probably say, we got time, we don't need to look now. On the contrary, start looking. Here's what you do. When you find one that you like, put it on this spreadsheet. And also add in here the link. So copy the URL and paste it and save it. So what happens when you come back and you're a junior? You go back to that same URL, they have an updated scholarship, and you can apply. And someone in the chat said, don't forget about sorority and fraternities in your area. Excellent point. They all have scholarships, different chapters in different local areas. So Google them as well. But when you start collecting those scholarships, put them on your tracking sheet. I did this with my sons. This is a template as well out of my workbook. And they filled in the name of the entity, the URL, what the eligibility requirements, how much money they were offering, what's the deadline, and so on. And then I had them do this important step. Reorganize them based on the deadline that was coming up first. So we didn't get overwhelmed with our scholarship search. Why? Because we took it month by month. So in February, I sat down with my son and I said, hey, look, let's look at this list and see which ones have a deadline in March. Those are the ones we knocked out. Which ones have a deadline coming up the next month. Then we knocked them out on a month by month basis before their deadlines. So great way to approach it so that you don't get overwhelmed. The scholarship application is very similar to a college application. You have to have your scores. Some of them, sometimes they ask for your test scores, transcripts. They may ask you to verify that you're actually been accepted to a college or you're still enrolled in a school. They may ask for essays or letters of recommendation. And also, yesterday we talked about the scholar profile, the one-page resume based on the template you guys put together last night. This might be a great opportunity to share that too. Now, I do want to remember, we're not going to talk a lot about essays and letters of recommendation, but I want to caution you that yesterday we talked about there's 2 types of essays you'll write, one for college admissions and one for scholarships. So I want to draw your attention to the scholarship essays and letters of recommendation here. They answer the question, why should you be awarded a scholarship? It's different from why should you be admitted to that college or university. So very important. So think about that. And same for letters of recommendation. For every scholarship, please create a checklist, y'all. The worst thing you can do is submit packages and not have everything they asked you for. Every entity will ask you for different things, so you need a specific checklist for that entity. Now, here's a gem. I have released earlier this year a free ebook. It's called 10 Secret Scholarship Strategies that every student needs to know to get a college education without going broke. It's online only. The link is below, but also the QR code. I'll leave it up for a second as I bring my talk to an end. And what I will tell you is, in conclusion, there is so much money that goes unclaimed every year in scholarships because students don't want to spend the time writing those essays and completing the applications and looking for them. If you don't put any work in, don't expect to get the money out, y'all. It's that simple. Put together a winning system and a plan that works specifically for your situation and make it happen. Also, track your progress. And again, make sure that you sit down with your parents and talk about your plans for how you're going to pay for college and look for scholarships. Now, the last thing I'm going to say as I wrap up, and please don't hesitate to join my Scholarship for Scholars group. I place exclusive information on scholarships that I hear about, some of those local gems that I know a lot of students aren't going to apply for. If I put in either one of those groups, I highly encourage you, or I put things in all caps, you better be applying for them because I know something that I can't tell you. So join me on Facebook or Instagram. And lastly, I want to remind you that if you are looking for scholarships, they are out there. If you get to your freshman year and you don't have enough funding and you and your parents have to take out a little bit of student loans or pay out of pocket, don't be discouraged. I tell students, you don't stop applying for scholarships until you graduate from college. So every year while you are in school, you can apply for scholarships. Keep looking until you graduate. If you are interested in my books or resources, please go to my educationalexcellenceinc.com/shop and you can get access to the resources that I have in those templates. I do have those electronically so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I have gone over my time, so I am going to end right here. And I don't know if there were any key questions. I did see a lot of things show up in the chat with sharing of information, so that's great. What advantage do you get if you submit the FAFSA first? I wouldn't submit my FAFSA until I have picked the schools I want to send it to. Because what's happening is you're gonna know your EFC, but nobody else is gonna know what it is. So very important. And then Angela says some colleges push up the admissions application open to June prior to the senior year. Should you still wait until fall of your senior year? Check with the university, Angela, and get their guidance. So if somebody has a June application deadline, then that's worth a phone call by you and your parents to find out how do you want us to handle the financial aid situation. And they will be happy to advise you best in that situation. All right. Well, I am going to tee up the next discussion and turn it over to Felix as we set up for the college student and recent graduate panel. Felix, I'm going to turn it over to you while I pin all of the participants.
Thank you, Dr. Christie. I appreciate that. So it's my pleasure to introduce Javon Brown from my Iron Sharpens Iron group. Javon Brown is a graduate from John C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he majored in communications. After graduating from college, Javon moved to Atlanta to be a hip hop producer and write for Ozone magazine, where he covered major artists like Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Young Jeezy, and the Underground Kings. Currently, Javon juggles a corporate job and is the host of WCEG Talk Radio, owns a clothing line, United Apparel, owns a face mask company called Masquerade, but one of Brown's based on 16 true college stories called The Lessons Learned. It has been incorporated with the Tuskegee Airmen, Pennsylvania State, Morgan State, and a plethora of other colleges and schools throughout America and Africa. Javon hopes that his book and the work will encourage people, young and old, to keep pushing forward during the hard times. Please welcome Javon Brown to the college students and recent graduates panel. He will be moderating.
Hello, everybody. I hope you all have been getting a lot of good information these past 2 days and been taking it all in. Today, I'm going to be moderating the college student panel discussion questions, and I have a few other people that's going to be on the panel with me talking about what we actually went through while we were in college and different topics that can help you all through college based on different life lessons. I went to John C. Smith University, like Felix said, and I have a lot of knowledge about what you might go through while you're in college. I know Felix said I wrote a book, but just to break it down, I had an idea back when I was in college to write a book. I interviewed 16 of my friends who all had a trial, a tribulation while they were in college. So I'm telling these stories, and then after every story, it's a lesson learned. And they're saying how they got through it and what advice they would give to somebody that's going through the same thing. So it's different topics: student loans, drugs, racism, STDs, college pregnancy, violence, grief. My best friend died when I was in college. Everything you can think of that happens in life, but it happened in college. So it's like a blueprint for high school and college students to let them know that you might go through this while you're in college, but here's how to get through it and not give up and keep pushing. I put the book out about 5 years ago. I'm self-published, did everything myself. You can see it behind me. That's the poster of it. And this is the actual book right here. It's on Amazon, on my website also. It's also in about 20 different colleges and high school. Like Felix said, Tuskegee University used it. Morgan State has used it. Bowie State, Penn State, a lot of different colleges and high schools. It's a great tool for different college kids. But we're going to kind of get into that and talk about different life lessons while we're in college. So I'm going to start off by introducing the different panelists we have. I'm not sure their names. Can the first panelist say, give their hometown, the college they're attending, the year in college they graduated, and they major or grade they obtained? Well, let me start off. I'm from Landover, Maryland. I went to John C. Smith. I graduated in 2008 and I majored in communications. And right now I'm also an IT business analyst. So the first person can speak up and say who they are, first panelist.
All right, I'll go. My name is Garrett Mobley. I'm from Towson, Maryland. I currently go to University of Delaware, where I'm a rising senior. On campus, I'm part of the Theta Chi fraternity, and I'm also a World Scholar.
Okay, next person.
My name is Alexander Walker. I was originally born in Accra, Ghana, moved to the United States when I was 4. I go to George Mason University, rising senior, studying a major in business analytics and a minor in government contracting.
Okay, next person.
I'll go next. My name is Jasmine Smith. I am from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I'm currently a junior at Radford University. I'm studying cybersecurity with a minor in criminal justice.
Okay, and the next, I think we have 2 more.
Oh, hello, I'm Jason. I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I go to the University of Virginia, and I'm going into my 4th year or senior year, and my major is in history.
Okay, and I think we have 1 more.
Ronald?
Yes, my name is Ronald Chambliss. I'm a recent graduate of Virginia State University. I'm from Stafford, Virginia, and I obtained my Bachelor of Science in Business Management with a focus in human resources.
Okay. Thank you all. Is there anybody else I'm missing here? I don't think so. The first question we want to get into is a big question. Why did you choose your college and major? Jasmine, I'll let you go first with that.
Okay, so we got to rewind a little bit. So when I was first applying to colleges, I applied to 5 colleges and I got all 5 into them. So I applied to Bradford, Virginia Tech, Old Dominion, Longwood, and Virginia State. All of them great schools for their own ways, but my brother, he also went to Bradford University. He just loved Bradford, and I kind of thought, hey, maybe this might be a fit for me too. So I thought Bradford might be a good fit, but then also at the end, I was really kind of fine between going to Virginia Tech versus going to Bradford University, because of course, Virginia Tech, that's a big name school. But I kind of looked back at myself, was like, am I someone that can go to this big school like Virginia Tech and thrive? And I just didn't think so. I thought I'll probably thrive better in a smaller, medium school like Bradford University. So at the end of the day, I picked Bradford.
Okay. Jason, you want to go next?
Yes. So I chose UVA because my mom, she inspired me because she had taken a class at UVA and then she really enjoyed it, even though it was online, but it kind of like just inspired me to want to go there too. And then also like, I feel like UVA has a lot of history and I'm really into history. So that's like another reason that inspired me to want to go to UVA.
Okay. And Alex?
For me, one thing that went into it is with my minor being government contracting and having a family too that worked in the government sector, we looked at schools that had like a lot of great government connections, and George Mason really stood out. I applied to other schools like Howard and UVA and stuff like that, but George Mason just stuck out with his connections that it had, their program, and yeah, it just fitted me better than a lot of the others, but that's some of the thought that went into it.
Okay. And Ronald?
So for me, I chose Virginia State University because I've had family members that attended there. I had a couple cousins that have spent time there, and I visited there with a couple of family members before, so I was familiar with the campus. And when it came time for selecting schools to apply for, my counselor, Miss Tiffany Smith at Forest Park High School, I'll never forget it. She basically stuck with me and made sure that I was open to a lot of opportunities. So with it also being an HBCU, which I knew that I wanted to attend, and it was like familiar, it's in Virginia, I'm from Virginia. So it was just kind of the right fit for me at that time.
Okay. I think, what's the last guy's name? I'm sorry, the last person.
I'm here. So I think I forgot to mention it. I'm a finance and financial planning wealth management double major. So I needed to pick a school that had a good business school. I applied to 6 schools total, but I narrowed it down to Delaware and Ohio State. Kind of like Ronald and Alex mentioned, I had family members that went to Delaware. So both of my parents and brother went, so they wanted me to go to Delaware, but they weren't like, you need to go here, you can go wherever you wanted. But I was lucky enough to have studied in China during high school, and I knew study abroad was something I really wanted to do. So Delaware has a World Scholar program, and that allowed me to study abroad 2 semesters throughout college. With coupled that with their great business school, I ended up choosing Delaware.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to say why I went to my school and my major. As you know, I went to John C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I was in high school, I wasn't a scholar. I didn't even want to go to college at first. But then I went on a college tour and I went to John C. Smith, and it was kind of cool. And I got accepted. So I went to college, and I knew I always had a passion for music, and I knew I wanted to be a music producer like Timberland or Metro Boomin and Pharrell. So I was thinking, how can I still achieve my dream of being a music producer while going to college? So I looked at the different majors and I chose communications, and I always loved English and loved writing. So I said, I'm going to major in communications and start writing for the student newspaper and still make beats on the side. And once I graduate, I can apply for an internship or a job at Vibe Magazine or The Source or Double XL. I go there, I interview my favorite rappers and artists and R&B singers. I get them my beats, I blow up, I'll be huge and famous. And that was my goal. It didn't happen like that, but it did kind of happen like that. I'm not a famous producer right now, but I did go down that path. But some advice I would give the students that are listening is if you're having trouble deciding what you want to major in, is to think about, why did God put you here? Why do you think he made you? What's the one thing that you do better than everybody else in your circle? What's your passion? Find out your purpose, and you want to take that and add that to your major. So if you love playing video games, be a video game developer. If you love math and money, be an accountant. If you love cooking, be a chef. And you want to take that and look at it like it's a gift that God has given you, because ultimately it is a gift that God has given you, and apply it to your life. And you just don't want to think about the money. You want to look like you're serving and you're giving back. So you want to think that God put me here to do this. So if you're a doctor, you want to think God put me here to bring healing into people's life. If you're an accountant, you want to think God put me here to manage people's monies and to get them on the right track financially. And even if you love being on social media all the time, on the Shade Room, on Baller Alert, scrolling on IG, TikTok, and you love doing that, and you know how to create content and create reels, you get a lot of likes and a lot of views, you can be a social media manager. All those different types of careers are out there for you. So think about why God put you here and exactly what you want to do and your passion and your purpose. And if you think about it that way, I promise you, you won't go wrong. Think out your purpose and why God put you here and apply that to your major. And you think about it that way, you'll be ahead of the game. You'll be way ahead of what I was and what a lot of people that were students were at that time. Because a lot of people graduate and they change paths due to money, or they just don't like it. They're bored. I know a lot of you might have seen your parents coming home after school and sitting in front of your house because they might hate their job before they come in the house. A lot of those things go into that factor. So think about what you really want to do before you choose your major and what you really think God put you here to do. The next question is, did you receive a scholarship or grants to attend college? If so, elaborate. If not, how are you paying for college? Let's start with you, Garrett.
So I'm lucky enough. I did get an academic scholarship. It isn't nothing too substantial, but I did get that through my high school GPA. And then I've also applied to scholarships through my bank. So I bank with CQ. I'm from Maryland, so I bank with CQ, and kind of like what Dr. Murray is saying, you just look for scholarships throughout the local area. My dad was huge on that, so I was applying to different scholarships, and I got a scholarship through there. And then the rest, I'm thankful enough for my parents to pay the rest of my tuition.
Okay. Jasmine, how about you?
So one of the scholarships I'm on is called the Highlander Distinctive Scholarship. And for that one, I just have to maintain a 3.0 at my university. But with that, I get $5,000 a year or every year, which is definitely a big help off my bill. But my first year going into college, my freshman year, during COVID, I just applied to so many scholarships. And for the most part, I got most of them. And basically my whole first year of college was paid off.
Okay. Jason?
I got scholarships just from like my parents, like from their jobs, and then like from church where my grandparents go to church at. And then I also just got well, I did take out some loans, and then I just also did like FAFSA, financial aid, and that was mainly how I paid for college, or have been paying for college.
Okay. Alex?
Generally coming into college at first, I didn't really do my research when it came to looking for a scholarship, which is one thing that I regret doing. But right now, what I do is like every semester, depending on the grades I get, I apply for like scholarship awards for like the spring and summer for your certain GPAs that you have to get. So that's some of the ways I'm right now paying for college, and others are just paying out of pocket and stuff like that.
Okay. And Ronald, how about you?
So for me, I had multiple different ways of paying for college. Of course, multiple scholarships. I think Miss Christie Murray said that the small ones do matter. It's not just about big denominations of scholarships. So $500 ones through what, $2,500 scholarships, financial aid, of course, student loans too. But those scholarships, they definitely added up and helped. So yeah.
Okay. I think we have a question for Garrett. If you don't mind, how did you get a scholarship from your GPA?
So Delaware gave me 3,000. So I had a 3.55 in high school. And Delaware gave me a scholarship. And then that's also how like I kind of went through study abroad, because I have to keep a 3.0 in Delaware. But the higher your GPA is, they kind of give you, at least this is how Delaware is set up, they kind of give you some more money. So they gave me another scholarship to go abroad as well.
So it was like provided from the state?
From the actual school itself, like from UD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say myself, I didn't have a scholarship. I was just didn't apply for any while I was in school. So I had student loans every year, and I deeply regret it. So if there are any students on here and you're not applying for scholarships, I really recommend that you apply for scholarships. I still owe now. I'll be transparent. I only owe about 13,000 right now, but I have friends who owe about 50,000. Ones that have PhDs over $100,000 in student loan, and all of us are praying that Joe Biden will cancel some of that student loan debt coming up right now. But it is a serious thing. I will say that I've been on an income-driven payment plan right now. There are a whole lot of different options as far as paying back your student loan. I recently just applied for the PSLF, that's the Public Service Loan Forgiveness. And some of you who may not know, but if you work for a public service, they will forgive your student loans within 10 years. So I've just applied for it, and I've paid on it about 6 years. So I've been working for the state government for about 10 years, but I started paying on it the last 6 years, and also was in forbearance because of COVID. So hopefully it'll get approved and they'll just cancel my student loans if that happens, or cancel a certain portion. I don't know if Dr. Murray talked about this, but if you're getting student loans, when I was in school, a lot of us got refund checks. And the refund checks is the money you get from the student loans that you get. And if you get refund checks, do not spend that money, give it back. Some of us were getting about 1,000, sometimes 2,000. Some of my friends got $5,000 each semester from getting refund checks and going out buying clothes and traveling and partying. Pay that money back, because you don't want to, that's money that you owe. It's not your money, just to give you some advice about that. Next question. What do you find to be the most enjoyable aspects of college life? Ronald, let's start with you.
I'm glad that you actually started with me. So, like I said, I graduated from the HBCU. I also mentioned that I've had people that have went to school before me, and I would like to say that I'm proud that I'm like my grandmother's first grandchild to graduate from college. That's a big feat for me. I think that when you go to college, you have to go with an open mindset. You have to go willing to try new things and explore yourself. I joined a social org on campus called the True Foundation Incorporated. Basically, it's a mentoring organization for incoming freshmen. So the freshman class, they will come to us whenever we have activity hour, and they'll look for mentors, and we just give them advice about being freshmen. And I'm also a Spring 20 initiate of the Beta Gamma chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I think that joining my fraternity was the best decision in my life at that time. It taught me a lot. It just was something that I really needed. It taught me a lot about manhood. It taught me a lot about a lot of different things that was going on in my life. So I think going to college to get your education is also like a major like thing in college, but also going to have those experiences is definitely key. So I think that my favorite part was the experiences on top of the education because I have my degree. But so yeah.
Okay. Alex, how about you?
Just to kind of emphasize kind of what Ronald said already, is like one of my biggest things that I enjoy about college is just like meeting new people. Like before I even thought of college, one of my elementary school teacher always told me it's not always about what you know, but who you know. So one thing college provides you with is a lot of great people that you may never know who could help you out in the future and stuff like that. So it's just the connections I've made throughout my college years. And with me, one of my side passion is with shoes. I'm actually a big sneakerhead and stuff like that. And I met a lot of other people like me who we have went and started trying to create our own little like business with shoes and stuff like that. So it's the connections that really thrive my experience and stuff like that.
Okay. Jason?
For me, one of the most enjoyable aspects of college life is just like the independence and like learning from being independent. You learn so many life skills that you could use like for the rest of your life, like beyond college, because like you're no longer at home. So then like you're on your own.
Okay. Garrett?
Yeah, I think Alex and Rana really hit on it well. It's a lot about social. So I also joined a social fraternity. And I think being with your friends, being with people who are like-minded like you, and like having that ability to like, maybe you have a bad day in the classroom or like you fail a test. Obviously, you never want to be in that situation, but sometimes those tests do get the best of you. Just blowing off some steam with some friends after class, and like everyone's going through the same struggle. Everyone's away from their family. You're kind of all in the same boat. So just kind of like sharing that experience and going through that journey together, I think that's something that's really enjoyable.
Okay. And Jasmine?
I definitely say the feeling that comes from the college person. People really kind of spread your wings and do what you want to do for them, and just able to learn how to learn, take care of yourself, also learn your social aspect, new people, those are problems.
Kind of breaking up, Jasmine. It's kind of choppy. Okay.
Are you good or?
I can hear you now. Can you all hear?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Jasmine.
So I think definitely the best aspect of going to college is freedom.
Hey, Jasmine, you're still breaking up. You might want to go out and come back in. Javon, I'd go to a different guest.
I'm going to answer what were the most enjoyable aspects of college. I love college, period. I'll start with one thing I enjoy. I enjoyed my major. I majored in communications. Being part of communications, I was on the campus student newspaper. That was a lot of fun to me. I learned a lot about how to put a magazine together, how to put a newspaper together. I also learned graphic design. I learned Final Cut Pro, which is what you use to edit videos. And I use all of those skills to this day. For my book, I actually had a movie trailer, like a book trailer, but it's a movie trailer. And I did the whole thing myself. I used it to promote my book on social media. So what I learned, it was fun. It wasn't boring. I was always excited to go to class, which I was never really excited to go to class in high school besides English. So I love school, but like Ronald said, networking and meeting different people. I met some of my best friends in college. I had different best friends that went to North Carolina A&T, went to Hampton, went to Clark, went to Bowie, went to Howard, and I was on that road all the time visiting my friends. Now, I got my work done. I didn't start doing that till my sophomore year and up. I traveled a little bit during my freshman year, but I wouldn't say to do that during your freshman year. You want to get acclimated to being in college and getting your work done and having a system and being organized first. But I traveled up and down 85 N95 all the time and met some of the most amazing people who I'm still cool with to this day. And I was like, one of the guys said, I was networking. It was one girl I met in Clark, Atlanta, and we're still cool to this day. And she's helped me a lot as far as getting my book out there and meeting different people. Another girl I met at Howard, she helped me put my book release party together and helped me get the Howard University marching band there. And I met them all during college. And these are some of my close friends. So networking and getting out there and having a good time and having fun, but also remember to stay focused. So college is really what you make it. If you're going to go out there and be outgoing and talking to people and being an extrovert, you're going to probably have a good time. But if you're an introvert too, you also going to have a good time. Just go out there and get out your comfort zone. And I guarantee you'll have a good time in college. It's always what you make it. What are the least enjoyable aspects of college life? I'll start with Jason.
Well, the least enjoyable part, it can be well, the classes, because like the classes can be bigger and it can be harder to like communicate with the professor, and then the work, it can become overwhelming for some students, and then that can be not as enjoyable, and just like feeling like you're alone and you're being overwhelmed, and then that can cause like anxiety and stress.
Okay. Alex?
Well, one of the least enjoyable part of my college is, even though I go to like probably one of the biggest universities in Virginia, it's known to be a commuter school, so the social life isn't there. Like out of like 50,000 that might go there, less than 20,000 stay on campus. So sometimes having like be able to like find that social life isn't there. There's not a lot of things going on campus, which actually can turn out to be a good thing, because for a guy like me that is very easy to get distracted, sometimes it helps me to stay focused on my classwork and stuff like that. But yeah, if I would have to pick one thing, it'll be that.
Okay. Garrett?
I would say, kind of going off of what Jason was saying, if you have like a semester long project, there will be classes where you have semester long projects and you get stuck with a bad group. And you have like people that are in your group that are unmotivated, don't show up to class, don't pitch in for any of the work. That can be really frustrating. And it's kind of hard because you have to communicate that with your professor, but at the same time, the professor isn't gonna, like give you a handout, so to say, to like be like, it's fine. So you gotta like learn how to deal with that and learn how to work past that. And with the members that do show up, just kind of making the best of a bad situation. So be wary of that. But other than that, I mean, classes do get overwhelming, but just like finding a balance between having fun, knowing when to go to the library, is an easy way to negate that.
Yes, indeed. I went to the library every day before I went to my dorm room or went back to my house. I lived on campus a few years. Garrett, how about you? No, you just talk. I'm sorry. Ronald. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'll definitely piggyback off what Gary said. It's all about time management. Being in different organizations on campus, you definitely have to maximize your time because school comes first. That's what you're paying all that money to do, or that's what you're paying all that money for you to be there for. You could join any of the orgs, or you can join clubs and National Honor Society. All that doesn't really matter if your grades aren't getting put to the forefront. Sometimes also what I think Garrett was saying is working with people, not only just people that you're like in groups with, but professors themselves. I found that as I got deeper and deeper into college, really like my last semester in college, the professors are very hard to work with. But it's also just about like going to office hours and just taking the initiative to reach and contact professors and stuff like that, like outside of class, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to while you're in class. So just making the most of your time in the best way possible.
All right. And Jasmine, are you there? She's still all doing. All right, let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna read some of the comments we had down here when we were talking about the student loans. Faith and Nia said that was the greatest mistake that she made during her university years. She thought that it was extra free money, talking about the refund checks. Those are a lot of mistakes a lot of people made, spending that money, thousands of dollars, thinking it's free money, but it's not free money. Ramona Rivers said, when seeking employment, consider looking for companies that offer student loan forgiveness. So those would be companies who are public companies like the government or schools or different companies like that. And yes, networking is important. Cassandra says she met several of her best friends during college. And Ronald piggyback and said, college is what you make it. My least enjoyable aspect of college, I didn't have that many. Problems still happen. Life still happens while you're in college. You got your family back home. They may be going through things. You may lose family members while you're in college, and being away. I'm from the DC, Maryland area, and I went to school in Charlotte. So being away from my family was kind of tough at times. Missing the home cooked meal. I missed that. And not having that much money, because in college it basically broke. I did have a part-time job, but it wasn't bringing in that much. I had a lot of internships, but I wasn't making that much money. So not having money to do what I want, and that's why I used the refund checks. I didn't have any money, but you don't want to do that. Missing a home cooked meal, because sometimes you will get tired of the cash. You might go to one of the best schools that have the best option, but it's nothing like your mom or your dad or your guardian putting that heart and soul into the meal that you used to eating every day. The next question, what college or external activities are you participating in? It can be sports, clubs, fraternities, sororities, part-time job, etc. And how do you find balance with that? Ronald, how did you find balance with that while you were in school?
It can become overwhelming if you don't have a plan. So like I think what helped me is my freshman year. My advice to anybody on this call that's, coming to college is start off strong. Start off with your foot in the door and start off like on a good, path, because the higher GPA is, the more things you'll be able to do once you get deeper into college. Freshman year, I think I had a 3.3 GPA. 3.295, I think that's what it was. Anyways, and it just allowed for me to be able to, apply to be in certain organizations. Like I said, I'm in True Foundation, that's a mentor organization, and I'm in a Greek fraternity. I think that, and also like a lot of times they don't allow freshmen to join certain organizations for that simple fact, so that you can focus on your grades first. But I felt as though those type of opportunities are very important, because like someone else said, it's important to be a part of like-minded people and around like-minded people, so you can, encourage yourself to do better.
Okay. Garrett?
Yeah, so I would agree 100% with Ronald. The biggest thing is get off to a good start for your GPA. I knew a lot of kids who went into college and they get all this like newfound freedom, and they kind of like go out every single night, kind of neglect homework, and it reflects in their GPA. And it's a lot harder to bring your GPA up than it is to keep it higher. So definitely like put your school first. Yeah, aside from that, I'm also in Greek life, like Ronald said. Now, I don't think it's for everyone, but if that's something you are interested in, I would definitely look at it. It is something that opens up a lot of doors. I am extremely grateful that I am in it. I would highly recommend it, but again, it isn't for everyone. And aside from Greek life, I'm also a Rhodes Scholar, like I mentioned earlier, which has allowed me to study abroad. If that's something that interests you, I would definitely look into that as well. I'm pretty sure most schools do offer some program where you can probably at least do one semester. So I would definitely recommend that. It's something I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't study abroad. It's kind of made my whole college experience. So yeah.
Okay. Alex?
I don't know if I mentioned this as well, but outside of my just regular college day, I'm also part of the wrestling team. This year I didn't wrestle due to injuries, but I helped manage and stuff like that. And with the whole other shoe business, one thing that helps me to kind of like stay on time and to get done what I need to do is with a guy like me that has like a lot of Apple products and on the Apple ecosystem. I've started to utilize reminders, start to write down like what I need to get done at so and so times. I like if I go on my phone right now, I have like so many reminders just all on like a timely basis to like keep me on track and stuff like that. And also since like, you know, something that Ronald also talked about is like surround yourself with like-minded people. Like the people I have in my circle, I know that I can't just hit them up and say, hey, let's go do this and that because of like, oh, we got work to do first and stuff like that. So it kind of helped if you also keep a circle that are like-minded like you, because they're too going to help you succeed, even if you are not putting yourself in that right position at that time. So
okay. Jason?
Well, for me, so my school, I work for their news channel. And then one way that I manage my time is just like realizing that I can't do everything. And then like, and that's at school should come first because that's what I'm paying all that money for. And just to remember, like, it's okay to like not do some things and to prioritize school, but to also have fun too.
Okay. Jasmine, are you there?
I don't think she's re-entered yet.
Okay. I'll answer the question. During my senior year, I was my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I was a part of the student newspaper. But during my senior year, I was a part of the student newspaper. I had 4 internships, taking 21 credit hours, and I had a part-time job at Circuit City during my senior year. So how did I find balance and all that? Plus, my best friend died my senior year, and my granddad was diagnosed with colon cancer. My family didn't tell me because they didn't want me to worry during my senior year when it's time for me to graduate. So that was a lot to handle. I actually have a chapter in my book about that called Achieving While Grieving, because those kind of things will happen, might happen to you while you're in college. And how do you keep going? I stayed focused. My head was down and I had a goal to reach. School costs too much money to give up now at this point. So what I did is I lived off campus and I lived on campus. I lived on campus my freshman year. And freshman year, I did okay, but it's very hard to get your cumulative grade point average up after your freshman year if you don't do too good. So when I seen my grades and I seen how hard it was to get up and seeing how much school, it really hit me, how much school really costs and how much you got to pay back, I got totally focused. So when class was over, I wouldn't go home or go to my dorm room until I finished all my homework. So I would go to the library, and most libraries have private rooms, and I'll give me a private room or a table with my friends who, like Alex said, who are like-minded. And I would finish all my work before I went home, because when I lived on campus, I had roommates, and 9 times out of 10, we had people at our house all the time when I was in college, partying, drinking, doing a whole lot of stuff. And I knew if I went home, I wouldn't be able to finish my work. So I made sure I finished all my work before I got home, went to my internships. I had 4 of them. I had different schedules every day. I just put my head down. One of my pastors, Pastor Keith Battle, said, if it doesn't add up, you got to subtract it, because if it doesn't add up, you can't multiply and go to the next level. So you got to put your head down. You got to go to the next level. So you got to prioritize what's most important, your schoolwork, and then the top priority for your internships or whatever activity is you're doing at that time. So if it doesn't add up, you got to subtract it, because if it's not adding up, it's not going to add to your life. You got to cut off all distractions, because those distractions are going to lead to you going to an extra year, and that's extra money, going to extra time, and time is going to be dwindling down. As you get older, you're going to start seeing that time is ticking. Before you know it, 40, 50 years old, and time has passed by. So you got to put your head down and stay focused. You can go to the next one. I'm gonna answer some of those questions. Somebody asked, what's the difference between living on campus and off campus? Living off campus, more freedom. You're not in the dorm. You're not sharing the bathroom with a bunch of people, but it does still cost to live off campus. Like I said, people took that money and it cuts off your housing, and it may be cheaper, it may not, and you might get a refund check for that. But if you get a refund check for, and because it cuts off your housing, you definitely should put that towards your bills. I didn't do that. I was paying it out of pocket. So there's different ways, but I prefer living off campus because it's more fun. I had a house. I lived in the South, so it was cheaper than living up north. Let me see. I did. Somebody asked about do internships while attending college. Yes, I had four. I had four internships. I added as one of the questions also. I had one with Good Music, Kanye West label. I was a campus rep. I worked for Play Magazine while I was there, CharlotteVibe.com, and Jungle Records. So those are pretty fun. Did any of you all have internships now? Or Alex, who you interning with?
This summer I just completed my internship with Marad underneath the DOT as a financial analyst. My mentor actually is Cassandra Chamberlain. So I just got done with that. It was a very good experience, learned a lot. I would say I left different than what I came into the program with. So it's something that I'll always remember.
Okay. Gary, did you have internships? Do you have one?
Yeah, so last summer I worked with Mirad too, and Cassandra was also my mentor. And then I just finished up my internship this summer with Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor analyst.
Nice. Ronald, did you have internship?
So I had 3 different internships in college. I had one with the Eastern Service Center, Eastern Service Center Department of Transportation out in Baltimore, 2019. Then I had another version of that same type of internship under the Department of Transportation when COVID had hit, so it was virtual. And then another one I just finishing internship with FDIC as a student trainee, and that one was virtual as well. But I think that the one internship that I did have in person, it was pretty cool because basically, long story short, they had me out there and they paid for my apartment. You know, I just had to pay for like food and stuff like that. And I was actually going to work in the office building in Baltimore. So it was pretty cool.
Okay. Jason, did you have an internship?
Yes, I had one this summer. It was with so my school, they have WUVA, even though it's affiliated with the school, but the school doesn't support it, if that made sense. And so basically I've been a student journalist and I created like stories and made videos.
Okay. And I don't think Jasmine is back yet.
Yeah, she's back.
Oh, Jasmine,
Hi guys.
Did you have an intern? Do you have an internship or have one yet?
I have not yet. I'm not.
Okay. I wonder the importance of an internship. If you don't have experience when graduating, you can't really get a job. So having an internship is very, very important. Like I said, I had 4 when I was in college, and I know that's how I was able to get a job out of college working with Ozone Magazine, because I had wrote for a few different media publications while I was in college. I graduated May 2008, and I got a job at Ozone Magazine in Atlanta in July of 2008, as soon as I graduated, living my dream. But it's very important. And some people have a hard time trying to get an internship because there's so much competition. But Robert Smith, I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a billionaire. He's a Black billionaire, and he's the guy that actually paid off more houses. The class of 2000, probably 18, 17, paid off their whole college fund when they graduated. But he got his foot in the door with Bell South and AT&T by applying for an internship. He kept calling and kept calling. So don't give up trying to get an internship. I had a friend, she went to Clark Atlanta, and she wanted to intern for Love and Hip Hop when she was going to school. So what she did is she took a box, like a present, and put her resume in the box and sent it to the producer of Love and Hip Hop. And the guy thought, the producer thought he was getting a gift, and he opened it up and it was her resume, and he hired her the next week. So you got to think of different ways to get your foot in the door. How do students apply for internships? You can go online, Google. Colleges should have a a division in their school on where you can go and apply for internships also. I got my first internship with charlottevibe.com because they sent the email out saying apply for an internship for the communications students, and I applied and I got it. That's my first internship. Next question. What are your strategies to take care of your physical and mental health in college? Let's start with you, Ronald. What were your strategies?
So I think that, well, freshman year, I was just like outside. I'm gonna just be honest. I was taking care of my schoolwork and make sure my schoolwork was taken care of. So once my school was taken care of, I was playing flag football in the courtyard and stuff like that. But as college developed, I crossed into my fraternity as a sophomore. So for that, they had us like working out for step shows and different type of exhibitions and stuff. So mentally, physically, that's what had us right. But mentally, like I said, just being with those people at 24/7, like they become your family. And it's good to have family members to go through, sometimes what would be struggling times, because a lot of times people don't talk about stuff that they're struggling through college because everybody going through the same thing. But it's good to have people to talk about certain things with, because then you'll know that, okay, I'm not in this alone. I have somebody to go through this with, you know what I'm saying? So that was definitely important. But that's how I took care of my physical and my mental while during college.
Okay. Jasmine?
I would say definitely try to know, like usually Sundays are like kind of like my relaxed days, my debrief days. Like, all right, I worked hard this week. Let's try to just relax. Let's, watch my favorite television show, just do something that kind of like relaxes. During the week, I like to work out, definitely physical exercise. Even if I'm like going to the gym, just going on a walk, that makes you feel so much better. And just really giving yourself that mental space to just kind of like step away from doing work, step away from, social things, and just kind of like focus on yourself.
Okay. We're winding down here, so I'm gonna try to speed through this. Alex?
I know this answer might sound basic, but what I like to do is just try to do stuff that I love to do, which is like wrestling, go sneaker shopping, work out. And, I just like to, like I said, do stuff that you love doing within reasonable time and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Garrett? Did you drop off?
Yeah, everyone's had great points. I think go to your campus resources. So Delaware offers like free therapy sessions. I think it's like 12 or something like that. Mental health is something that's like really important, whether you think it's going to affect you or not. Like it can come up at any point. So talk to someone if it does come up and you're in that situation. Also go to the gym. I'm pretty sure every school, if you're a student there, the gym is free. It probably comes with tuition. So go to the gym, work out, and then kind of like what Ronald touched on during my pledge process with my pledge brothers. There was a lot of exercises that we did throughout that process where you're kind of, talking about the things that you normally don't talk about. So surrounding yourself with good people, have a good social circle around you that, you're open and comfortable with like sharing those more personal things. Because those are important.
Yes.
And also establish a routine. Establish a routine because your life is a lot better when you have a routine, and it just makes your life way more streamlined.
Yes, I would agree with that. And most of the times with your tuition, the gym does come, your school gym does come with that. And so go to the gym because the freshman 15 is real. I didn't gain 15 when I was in college. That's 15 pounds. I actually lost 15 to 20 because I was walking around campus so much. So I actually lost weight, but I have a lot of friends who gained the freshman 15. So try to work out while you're there. Jason?
Yes, I would say one thing I do is praying, and then also just like journaling. Like I journal my thoughts and just finding like people to talk to that I can trust, and people that like finding a group of friends that I feel like I can just talk and be like share like whatever's going on, and just also finding time to like just days to not do any schoolwork and just detox.
Yes, I agree with that. And like one of the guys said, having a schedule, I think it was Garrett, and having a schedule was very important. I do that to this day. I have a planner with everything. When I was going into my job, because I'm virtual now, on Sundays, I would cook all my meals and iron all my clothes, because on the weekdays, you got so much work to do. I don't got time to be making meals and ironing clothes and everything. So I would do everything on Sunday. So if you have a schedule like that, you stay focused, that could really help out if you're being organized, and keeping God first always, and praying and keeping God first, and keeping that, because as you go away to college, you may go off a little bit, go off into different paths of your life, but keep God first, you'll always come back on track. I'm gonna wrap it up with the last question. What life lessons would you share with students who are considering or currently in college? And try to keep it short, guys. We're running out of time. Start with you, Ronald.
Can you repeat the question one more time so I can make sure I answer correct?
What life lessons would you share with students who are considering or currently in college?
A life lesson, I think the number one thing that I learned being a business management major is like they teach you a lot about business and stuff like that. But number one, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And the best word of business is word of mouth. So that kind of goes hand in hand with it's not what you know, it's who you know. If you starting up a business and you're doing good with your business, you get that word out to people that your business is good. You know what I'm saying? That's word of business. You get what I'm saying? So just also just have fun. Like go and make it your own. You're never gonna get those years back. I just graduated literally in spring of 2022. So earlier this year. And I'm already seeing people going back and, welcome week and stuff. And I'm already like missing it low key because, COVID messed it up. And a lot of people got choppy years in college, but definitely go and make it the best. I'll say that.
Indeed. Jasmine, how about you?
I'll first start by saying that believe in yourself. Even when things get hard, things will get challenging, just know that you got it. People are rooting for you to do your best. And, sometimes you got to be your biggest cheerleader with some things. And, just know that if you go and put your 110% to it, you're going to do well. But at the same time, I will also say you're also accountable for your actions. And when I say that is that do not expect to be successful in college if you're partying all the time, hanging out with your friends all the time, doing everything besides doing your work. If you're doing that, there's no point in going to college because you're not going to do well. So that's why I say, sometimes you do got to say, no, I can't hang out. I got to do this. I have to get this project done. I got this paper in it. You have to hold yourself accountable to do well in college.
Indeed. Jason?
Well, one thing I would share is like with being in college is just to be yourself and just like to conform or like to be afraid to be yourself and just like to make friends, but just be yourself and like people will want to be your friends. And also just to just like always be present. Like when you're in class, if you're not like really going to be present, then it's no real point in being in class, if that makes sense.
Right. Alex?
One thing that I like to live by is live, learn, move on, meaning that don't be afraid to make mistakes. A lot of the things that we use today, some of the greatest inventions came by obvious mistakes, not obvious mistakes, but by mistakes. Learn from them because, like they say, failure is the best teacher. And then just move on and just enjoy life. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're never going to be perfect. The only perfect person to ever live on this earth isn't on this earth no more. And, just like I said, you live, you learn, you move on, and just enjoy life as you can because you only got one of it.
Amen. And Garrett?
Yes, I got two things. The first is I've been harping on it a lot as GPA, but also keep it in perspective. Like you don't need to have a 4.0. This goes back to what Jasmine said. It's a balance. Like go put your work first, but also do have fun. Once you graduate, after that first job, no one's going to ask if you had a 4.0 GPA. So if you get a B in a class, it's not the end of the world. Second off, I would say, I just forgot it. I guess, yeah, that's it then.
Well,
just keep it in perspective.
I actually have one more thing to say, just to add on. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, but just you're gonna take an L. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're gonna fail a quiz. You're gonna fail a test. You might potentially fail a class, but it's your choice if you stay stuck in that, and it's your choice if you stay down. You know what I'm saying? Like Jasmine was saying, you have to like be your own cheerleader at sometimes, because you don't sometimes won't even think that you're gonna be able to get stuff done. But when you do, and you told yourself that you would, it just makes you feel better. So
right. I would say life doesn't stop at all while you're in college. You're there to get an education, but family, friends, and just life happens while you're there. You may go through a lot while you're in college, and just life all the time. And things may arise unexpectedly, but it's your job to put your head down and keep going and keeping God first. Because like I said in my book, a lot of things happened to my friends while they were in college, from pregnancy to people passing away, family members, everything. But you got to keep going and keep pushing. And I would always say to act on your ideas. People are always praying for $1 million, praying to hit the lottery, praying to do this, but act on your ideas. God put that idea in your head for a reason. So act on your ideas. You never know what can come out of that. I acted on a lot of my ideas, and it has brought me a lot of joy, a lot of money, a lot of things in life, networking. So act on your ideas and go for it. If it's on your heart, he put it there for a reason. So act on your ideas and meditate and write down your goals. It's something about putting that pen to the paper and seeing things come true. Some of your favorite artists say it all the time, like Little Baby on this song with DJ Khaled. What did he say? I scratched $1 million off my checklist 3 years ago. Start off the verse with that. So he said that. Write down your list. So Baby Tate, she said, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy. Speak life into yourself. Always don't ever talk down on yourself. You are all kings and queens. So speak life into yourself. Look into the mirror every day and speak positive affirmations into yourself. You can do whatever you put your mind to. You can do it all. Don't think you can't do anything. You just got to put the work in. And I promise you, it will manifest and it will come true. Believe me, I'm living proof of that. I've seen it thousands of times. Your mind is powerful. Believe me.
Awesome. Well, let me just say, where were y'all back in 1993 when I was in high school? Oh, wait, we didn't even have the internet then. So I couldn't have even watched this virtually. So I just want to say, outstanding job. You guys dropped so much wisdom. Wisdom is not age specific. You guys might be young adults, but you're wise in years. And so I just want to say, on behalf of myself and everybody who had the opportunity to hear you share your experiences, thank y'all so very much. Y'all are helping to shape and change the lives of other youth by sharing your experiences. So, Javon, thank you for moderating. Excellent job. Check out his book, A Lesson Learned, y'all.
On Amazon, Apple Books, Kindle, everywhere. It's a great book in over 20 colleges.
I have my copy. I already got my copy. But excellent job to all of you. So thank you so much and best of luck. Those that are still in school, get them grades, y'all, like y'all said. And those who are out of school, like Ronald, sorry, you'll be getting up on Monday going to work with me. But either way, thank all of y'all very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to pivot to the last phase of today's summit. We're going to have closing remarks, but please don't leave yet. We have a couple of very important things that we need you to do, and I am going to pull up my presentation briefly, and we're going to just get right to it because I don't want to take up much more of your evening or your afternoon. Let me share my screen. There we go. Whoops, I'm a little ahead of myself. All right, there we go. Actually, I need to go back. There we go. Yes, that's where we go. All right, so first of all, I want you to please, before you start dropping off, you take your phones, go to the QR code or follow the SurveyMonkey link below, and please give us some feedback. Matter of fact, let me copy this, play from the current slide, and drop it in the chat for you if it'll make it easier. Please give us your feedback. We do these summits every August before students go back to school. Our vision is to make sure that we enrich you with information, share our wisdom and experiences, and even have an opportunity to, as we get sponsors, to give money back out into the community to help you offset some of your costs. So any feedback you give us into what you'd like to see in the future, who knows, maybe next year we will have an in-person and a virtual aspect. We want both. But please give us your feedback. We would be happy to get that so that we can continue to grow and to continuously improve. All right. So with that being said, save the date. It doesn't matter if you are in high school, middle school, or college. Come back next year on August 12th and 13th. God willing, we will be back. We will be sharing some powerful sessions with you again. Some of them will sound familiar. Some of them will not, I guarantee you. So we're going to continue to advance the dialogue around educational excellence and college and career planning next year. August 12th and 13th, lock us in. Also, if you haven't already, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm on TikTok, Christie at TikTok, y'all. And I only post things related to college planning and careers. I don't do my personal stuff on TikTok. I'm pushing out gems, tips, wisdom for students. So if you're on TikTok, follow me there too. If you need more resources, don't hesitate to visit our educationalexcellenceinc.com website. And without further ado, I want to say this is probably my, one of the, I can't say I have a favorite because listening to the students just now was awesome. All the other guests we've had, I don't have a favorite, but this is definitely a rewarding part of the summit for me. To be able to give back in the community with scholarships. So the students who attended both days of the summit, whether they were in high school as a freshman through a senior or a continuing college student, had an opportunity to apply. I gave them an assignment yesterday. They had till 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern to get me their information and their application documents, the application, their one-page resume / scholar profile, a photo, their 250-word essay, and the other documents that we talked about, their scholarships for scholars, screenshot, etc. Well, I'm happy to report not 9, but 10 students. That's actually a correction. Great job to the 10 students. Now, there are 50 people on here. I'm not sure why only 10 students applied, but 10 students applied. Many followed the directions. Great. A few did not. So I want to give you a few tips to help you. Now, the reason why I'm taking the time to do this, so don't start dropping off students yet, because I'm going to keep it real with you where nobody else is going to tell you. I appreciate those students who ran into technical issues with either my website or the essay field wasn't large enough. Here's something very valuable. They reached out to me, y'all. Last night, I'm laying on the couch, still half sick, but I was getting emails from students saying, Miss Christie, I can't do this. It's not accepting that. So congratulations on following up by email. When you don't get what you need from a teacher, a boss, whoever, don't close your mouth. Closed mouths don't get fed. Reach out and get the help before the deadline. Also, a couple of general pieces of feedback. Some of you had missing addresses. Now, please never do that again. I know y'all might not write a lot of letters, but please know that the city, state, and zip code is always included as a part of your address. What happens if Miss Christie was trying to send you a check? I wouldn't even know what state you were in. Come on, let's go back to the basics on that. Few of you had missing documents. From an essay standpoint, some of y'all didn't follow directions, and that went back to yesterday's talk too. Write on the prompt that I asked you to write about. And that prompt was, why did you register for the summit and how will you apply it? If you just talked about what you want to do with the rest of your life, you didn't quite make the mark. I'm sorry, but that wasn't the instruction. It was great to hear about what you wanted to do, but it wasn't quite enough. Also, if you had incomplete sentences, I joined this summit and then you went on to talk about something totally different, you need to tighten that up. And then the scholar profile. If you use my template and something didn't apply to you, please get rid of the X's that I had as for you to fill in the blanks. If it doesn't apply to you, please remove it from your scholar profile. I provided a format and someone still provided a poorly formatted scholar profile. So these things, I'm telling you, if I'm catching them as Miss Christie, you got to believe your package is going to go to the bottom of the pile with somebody else. Make sure if you're talking about your SAT scores that you're not giving me ACT numbers. SATs in the 800s, 900s, 1200s, not 24, 25, 18s. So somebody had a SAT score, but they were citing a 24 composite score. SAT doesn't have a composite score. So please pay attention to the small details. Submit the original template. Somebody submitted the template, the Scholar Profile template, but it didn't even have anything about them in it. It was the same template I did download it from my website. Not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. If you didn't have an honors and awards section, which I did see, go back because this student actually did have make honor roll. They had over 3.0 GPA. So there shouldn't be a section where you actually have attributes that you can speak to that you're not filling in. This is not just an exercise in wasting your time. This is an exercise to help differentiate you. And lastly, if you were a high school senior, and I saw a couple of y'all, and you didn't have no SAT and ACT scores, you need to go back to yesterday's video and yesterday's slides, which are on my website, and get ready to take those tests. Reference the slides and the talk we had on that yesterday. And I'm going to give you the link again in the chat for you to go back today and watch it. Why? Because Miss Christie wants to make sure you get your test scores in before you start applying to colleges. Okay? So that's my feedback on based on what we evaluated from your actual applications. So without further ado, first we're going to start out with a thank you to the sponsors. Dr. Marvette Thomas with the Dental Spa, who donated $1,000. Shelia and Leslie Buford, who donated $500. Ultimus IT, $500. Dr. Felicia Presley with Presley Counseling, $200. And Catherine Clark Cares for Generation Scholarship, $100. And Chambliss Consulting LLC, $100. So awesome job. Let's give a round of applause to all of our sponsors. Now, here's what we want you to do. Now, we recognize that as we're growing this program, we're hoping to get even more money next year, and we can give out more money every year that we're doing this. So if you're interested in donating and being a sponsor, I'm going to share my email address with y'all too, because every dollar helps these students. Use the funds. If you're taking an SAT test or you need to prep, use the funds for that if you're still in high school. If you're a senior and you're still working on college applications, this whatever you were awarded will help towards those fees. And if you are currently in college, please make sure that you use it towards your tuition, expenses, books, supplies, whatever is pertinent towards your education. This is not just, go out and Chick-fil-A money. This is to help advance your educational efforts. All right. Thank you, Sharon and Cassandra, for the sponsorships. I'll make sure that we I'm going to put my email address in here right now, because once this is over, I'm going to lose those who might be really interested in helping. Just give me 1 second. Educational Excellence Inc. @gmail. So just send me an email if you're interested in being a sponsor next year. So we have 4 awards we're giving out at the $500 individual award, 1 at the $200, and 2 at the $100. So please don't contact me this week, scholars. I'm telling you now, I will be reaching out to you, and within the next 3 weeks or less, we will be sending out your checks after we've had an opportunity to complete some verifications. All right. So drum roll. I don't have no drums. I wish I did, but I don't. We're going to start with the $100 scholarship award recipients. Let's give a big congratulations to Khalees Crocker, and I hope I'm pronouncing your names right, from Liberty County High School, all the way from Hinesville, Georgia, who's interested in majoring in the medical field. So congratulations, Khalees. Your package looked really good, and good luck, best of luck to you. Also, Mr. Thaddeus Merritt from my actual hometown, Montgomery, Alabama. He's a high school sophomore at Valiant Crossing Academy, which I have visited before, and that's a phenomenal school for boys, by the way. Congratulations to you, as you are interested in computer science, and I love my STEM baby. So both Khalees and Thaddeus, Congratulations. Come back again next year since you're only, I think I got that right, high school juniors and sophomores. Come back and tell your friends to join too. So drum roll. Next up, we're going to do the $200 scholarship award. And that winner is Miss Aaliyah Bell. She's a high school senior at Vero Beach High School in Sebastian, Florida, all the way from Florida. And she's interested in nursing. Congratulations, Aaliyah. I hope this helps you your senior year with your application fees and other endeavors you might have. And last but not least, our $500 scholarship award recipients. The first award goes to Yasmin Goodrich, who is a high school senior at Western Branch High School in Chesapeake, Virginia, where I grew up. And she's interested in pharmaceutical sciences and wants to go on to get her PhD in pharmaceutical sciences or pharmacy. Excellent job. I'm excited about that. Also, our next $500 recipient will be Bethany Tolley. She is a rising college freshman. So she's one of the ones going to school this fall. Hopefully the $500 can help you at Colorado Christian University out in Colorado, all the way from Colorado, majoring in English. And then Mr. Nicholas Taylor, congratulations. Right here and where I'm located now in Stafford, Virginia. I'm all over the place. But in Stafford, Virginia, he's a high school senior at North Stafford High School. And he's majoring in business administration and marketing. Great job to you. And last but not least, and I hope I'm not butchering your name, Isohi Yuso. And she is a rising college freshman at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, majoring in biology. Fantastic job to all of our scholars. And I will tell you, for those who did not get a scholarship, do not be dismayed. Please join my Scholarship for Scholars page on either Instagram or Facebook, or join me on TikTok. I post so many things that will absolutely still help you. And you guys, even the students, I put my email address in the chat. If you have questions and you need help, please don't go this alone. Please know that you have family with Educational Excellence, Inc. and many of our partners here and speakers, and we're here to help you. So my last remarks, and I'm going to come off of, I got to come off of here, and I'm going to try not to get sentimental, y'all. I want to see faces. I just want to say that God put this on my spirit a few years ago. I've been working with students, but everything that I saw, it was either happening after in the spring, after students had already applied to school, or it was well in the middle of the school year. And he put it on my spirit to do this before you really got to school good. And it has grown since last year, and it's going to grow again next year. Not just in participation, but also in the funding that we're able to provide. So I want to wish every last one of you, whether you got a scholarship or you did not, or you applied or you did not, to stay the course, take your life serious, and enjoy every aspect of it, and leave a legacy. Leave a legacy in everything you do. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Felix for any remaining remarks, but best of luck to everyone.
So I appreciate that, Dr. Murray. I hope that everyone got something out of it. You know, it was useful to you, or at least put you in contact with somebody who can help you further your career, or ideas about different career fields and things of that nature. And look forward to us providing. Thank you very much.
All right.
Dr. Murray.
Thank you. So give us some feedback. Don't forget the survey. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and best of luck to all of you as you're venturing back to school. And be safe. Bye-bye.